Yo, 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 yo. What is up, beautiful people? Hello, hello, hello. What's up, James? How you doing, Nervly? Hey, Kuro. Hey, Killer Ninja. Hey, Allergine. Hey, Kuren de Tabutat. Hey, Jazz. Ow! Rude. Hey, Cracks. Hey, Suchiro. Hey, Finesse Arbiter. Hey, Pyokikyo. Let's see anyone on YouTube chat. Hey. I'm not saying that name. But hello, YouTube chatter. I do see you with the Korean flag. Yo, yo, yo. Okay. What's up, beautiful person? What's up, beautiful people? Okay. We need to make some videos today. I was planning on going live way sooner today and making like way more videos. But I didn't. So yeah. That happened. Unlucky. Though I'm thinking what I want to do. Jesus. I'm thinking what I want to do is I'm probably gonna go for 24 hours today. Like I'm gonna stream today and play powered for like fucking 10 to 12 hours. And then maybe go live again for like another few hours. We have fun builds cooked ready? Yeah, we have some good ones cooked. I would just leave. It was good. I had nightmares. I had a nightmare. I was chasing my dad. And I was like chasing after him and he kept running away from me. And I kept chasing him more and more, trying to like catch up to him to give him a hug. Yeah, that dream was pretty haunting, I'm not gonna lie. What's Ilmon exactly? Do you look guppies like me? Oh, what's Ill Omen do exactly for Logapis like me? Okay, Ill Omen is so complicated because it's the first time they made a curse that isn't just like generic. But essentially, what it does is whenever you do damage to the enemy with a dot, like whenever you do dot damage, they get a stack of Ill Omen. Okay, so they have the stacking debuff from the curse. And once that debuff reaches 10 stacks, if the enemy is blue or like basic, they get killed. Okay? It just one-shots them. If they are an elite, if they're like an elite enemy or a boss enemy, they instead take 20% of the maximum life as true damage. And the way the stacks apply is based off of how much damage you've dealt to them. Like percentage-based damage you've dealt to them. So for blue monsters, every 8% damage you deal, they get a stack. And for bosses, it's every 5%. But this one stack can be scaled upwards. So the way you use Ill Omen is you get Ill Omen accumulation, I think it's called, or cumulative Ill Omen or some shit like that. And when you get cumulative Ill Omen, if you reach 100%, which is the cap, then instead of applying one stack, you apply 2 stacks per. And there's other things you can also do to like start with more initial stacks and stuff like that. Can you get world chance and 1-to-1 world damage and works on non-doubles too? Yeah, you could. You could, but the problem then is like you're only executing. I mean, maybe that's not even a bad idea. No, you can't. Because the dot damage you deal needs to do the percentage. So like if all of your damage dealt is hit damage, you're never reaching the percentage. Okay, I have a video I want to make today. So the Torchlight devs need me to make this video, so I do need to make it, like, soon. I think today I want to make this video and then this video. Because I want to make a video talking about the builds and like what we've cooked so far, because I think that's very exciting, because we put a lot of effort into it already. But we do need to make a reaction video to the trailer itself. So I need to go through this video and like actually like write things down. So what have we cooked? I'll show it to you in a bit. But TLDR, we did Burning Shot, Ignite Sage, Spiral Strike slash Strike, Spiral Strike Erica 2, Whirlwind Erica 2 or Berserking Blade Ram 2, Bing 1 Eye Shot, Selena 2, either Sage or Erica 1 Arrow Einaryor. I think it's probably better on Erica 1, but I haven't tested it yet. Chromatic Shot, literally anything. Chromatic Shot seems really good next season as well. Demo skills are still gonna be fine, and you could do Ring of Blades. I personally wouldn't do Ring of Blades, but I think it would be an interesting challenge to do with the nerfs. Because it is a fun build, it's just bad for what I'm doing specifically next league. Then we can also do Blazing Bullet. Yeah, I should write that down. That's a good one. I think that's what Void's doing. Void's doing Blazing Bullet. I talked to Void yesterday about Bing 1's rework. TLDR rework. Do we forgot what exactly happened with Tangles? They got nerfed. They're nerfed. They're worse. Tier 2 changes equals OP. The Tier 2 changes should be pretty good, yeah. I haven't spoken to Marty. I think Marty would know about them. Let me ask him. There's a screenshot circulating TLI Discord that was going from 6 to 4 to burst activate. I hope so. I think 6 was from the get-go too much. I always felt like it should have been like 5 at least. I don't know. Okay. Don't know if you saw, but the channel boots or min channel apparently. Yeah, someone posted it on my Discord, I think. I thought they were min channel at first as well, and then people convinced me it's max channel. I mean, it being min channel is like pretty decent for Whirlwind. What were the boots called again? Can someone link me the patch notes? Fuck, I closed the patch notes. Maybe I can just open them. Patch. Okay, no, I'm just gonna wait for something like that. Thank you. Oh my god, this patch notes load so slowly still. Okay, what was the legendary called again? If someone remembers, it was like it was a shoe item. I don't remember its name. Here, breath beneath the sticks. Thank you. Focuses above the chant minimum. Blah 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 blah. Okay. Like this is really good for Whirlwind. Like this is really good for Whirlwind now. If you do like Whirlwind, normally when you play Whirlwind, you go for what do you call it? You go for fuck. What do you go for Whirlwind? You go for Lone Walkers. Jesus, I'm so bad at words today. Normally when you play Whirlwind, you go for like Lone Walkers. I think these items are like really good, assuming they're cheap enough that you can like instead of going like an aura stacking Whirlwind setup, you can do like a Ghost Slaughter Whirlwind setup. Maybe like Ghost Slaughter Death's Touch, for example, or Demon's Touch. And then you just run beneath the sticks. It's gonna be T1 for sure. Yeah, it's gonna be rare, but like, you know, it's like when you're comparing to Lone Walkers, you know, you're comparing to like the second most expensive or like third most expensive item in the game. And not only that, but also Whirlwind is like really difficult to. Not Whirlwind. Lone Walkers is like a lot of investment in your build to go into. Contain Mind's broken if if it works the way you think it does. Bro, like someone explain to me the minion shit because I just don't know minion shit. One got buffed? Yeah, it got a big buff. By the way, chat, I'm just gonna keep it like a $120 of you guys. As someone who's played Whirlwind before, Whirlwind went from being really bad to being decent now. Like, Whirlwind's not gonna be like overtuned. Like, if you guys log in on League Launch and you just equip Whirlwind, you're gonna do no damage and you're gonna be miserable. Like, Whirlwind's still not gonna be just like just equip and go. It still needs a lot of investment for it to like feel decent. Like, it got an 80% buff. I remember a setup, like a deck stacking E2 setup with Whirlwind that had 1 trillion damage. I'm pretty sure if I played a different skill, that setup would have had like 3 trillion at least. Probably more than 3 trillion. So going from 1 trillion to 2 trillion is still like not enough. But it's gonna be like Woman's gonna definitely be way more viable, and it's one of the best clear skills in the game. The big issue Whirlwind has is not only is it a Sleep Strike skill, it's also a channeling skill. So I mean, wait. Oh, wait. They removed the double hit. Okay, I need TLI before I actually form an opinion on Whirlwind. It depends how the new skill is worded. Because depending on what the new skill is, it might actually be insane. Do PlayStation wants to get the elixir pad? I would suggest it, yes. I mean, it's like still in the shop right now, and it's discounted, and it's guaranteed to get it. Like, just get it. Because I don't imagine a universe where I would ever not use that pet on Sage. Is the thing. Because the elixir effect it gives just outweighs any sort of like damage another pet would give me in any build. Okay. Meep meep. let's go through this video quickly. So, okay. Video reaction. So first up, we will talk about the afterlight mechanic. I don't think they actually like go into what it drops in this video. Let me watch again. Yeah, they don't even tell you like what you drop from this mechanic. I assume you drop Nether Kings from it though. Oh my god, why does my PC do this? Okay, so the other thing I didn't set my fucking thumbnail to my BG to like the fucking picture you sent me, James. I was thinking about it. What else is there even to like fucking talk about? So Afterlight's obviously the obvious thing we have to like mention in the video. Nobody cares about Lunario? Okay, so he goes over Afterlight at 105. Then he talks about new confusion cards at 540. No, at 433. Yeah, I'm sorry about this, by the way. I just need to make this video quickly, because otherwise I'm not gonna get primos. Speaking of primos, have I got on my 14k yet? My 15k yet? You need all 6 copies of the pet? No, you don't need all 6 copies of the pet. You can get away with just like having one. The main reason you want the pet is for the elixir effect it gives you. Everything else is like, it's nice, but it's like not the end of the world. Andre, give me my primos, please. I don't want to be the nagging Karen that goes on chat and is like, I haven't received my primos yet, by the way. Although it is Monday today, so I assume it's gonna be like tomorrow or today. Oh yeah, the God of Hunting rework's a big one. Oh my god, dude. They make Erica 3 look so nice and they nerf her every single season. I hate these devs. Dude, I'm gonna mention this because I'm the cog person. She's the call guy. I'm the call guy.
Meow, meow, meow.
Meow, meow, meow. Dude, this fight looks so intense, no? Dude, that fight looks so intense. I can't wait. This is the big one. The Nether King's divinity. This is the very big one that I want to talk about. I assume this is what's gonna happen, what's gonna drop from the new league mechanic. Yo, internet? You wanna work? Okay. Dream interpretations are removed, not dream itself, though. The new Ultimate Legendary is sick as well. This thing is gonna be so broken. Nobody cares about evasion. Oh no, not 2K. Oh, that did look crisp though, I'm not gonna lie. Ew. Dude, the Vine Ascent, by the way, is such a cool fucking system. Like, no meme. Dude, I'm so excited for Divine Ascent, by the way. Okay, I think I'm ready for the video. Sorry about that. I just had to do this quickly. Yo, what's up, Saley? Daxel God is popping off? Dude, the fucking the thumbnail for Daxel God is so good. It's so fucking good. Yo, yo, yo. Okay, chat. Let's do this. Actually, wait, before I do this, I need to pause the music and then enable the VOD. So at YouTube can hear Andre. Let's go, hey YouTube. Our favorite. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, YouTube. Did I just want to make my reaction video to the new Torchlight Afterlight season, as well as just inform you all about the biggest changes and the ones that are gonna be most important to us going into this new mechanic, going into this new season.
Welcome.
So, to start us off with, we have the new mechanic, Afterlight. Now, Afterlight's a very interesting mechanic. Afterlight is essentially just an escort mission mechanic that we're gonna have, where you're gonna run into the map, you're gonna have this coffin that you're gonna be able to click on, and then whenever you click on this coffin, it's gonna spawn waves and waves of enemies that you have to kill off. But the interesting thing about this mechanic is it does reward having like a lot of good clear, because the slower you are at clearing the map, the less waves of enemies you get, and the more waves of enemies you kill, the more rewards you actually get. So it does encourage having a lot of DPS and actually killing as many enemies as possible, because the more enemies you kill, the more enemies is just going to spawn for you. And you can actually see this on the left, on the top right here of the mechanic. So whenever it shows red, it's going to stop spawning raves. Well, the missions aren't going to stop. They're still going to be walking forward and stuff, but the enemies aren't going to spawn anymore because there's too many enemies on the screen still. Whenever it's blue, it's still going to be spawning enemies, I believe. Yellow is going to be like a warning that, you know, you're getting to a bit overcrowded. You need to kill some enemies. And I think there was also green. Okay, there's no green. There's only the blue. So, in this mechanic, it's going to be very important that you just keep yourself at as few... you need to keep your screen as clear as possible and just have as good clear as possible. I do think it's going to be a bit interesting to see how this mechanic actually plays out, because it is kind of punishing, I think, for builds that don't have that good clear. Like if you're just a build that's just full screening everything as soon as it spawns, like you're not really gonna care. But if you're playing like a Shadow Strike skill and you have all these enemies spawning constantly, like I don't know what the fuck you're supposed to do. That's gonna be pretty bad for you. Also, chat, please stop throwing nuts at me. I'm gonna fucking throw a nut back at you. But yeah, that's his Afterlight mechanic. And then just like with any other mechanic to add, there is going to be like special events that happen, which is actually quite interesting, because normally in previous mechanics like Arcana, Lunaria, etc., when you have a special event happen, you sometimes don't even know that the event is happening. Sometimes it's just like, you just go in and it's like, oh, this looks weird. And in terms of Arcana, it's like, oh, this is a weird card layout. Oh, it's a special event. Or in Lunaria, like once you're in the event, you just have like an exclamation mark telling you it's a special event. Here, when you actually reach the coffin, it has this big pop-up telling you like, yo, this is a special event, this is how it's gonna work, this is exactly what you need to do. Which I do think is actually quite a nice change. Because I remember when starting off on Lunaria, especially, a lot of times I would just like enter the area and just stand there and like click on the info page and just like read what it's doing and stuff. Whereas this like actually, you know, it gives a name to the special event, and it's just like, I think you'll very quickly like realize which one does what. But that's the new lake mechanic we're getting. Now, another big system they're actually adding, or not adding, but rather changing, is there's a few reworks to some of the Netherrealm trees, which you'll just have to go in and look at those for yourself. There's a mechanic you're farming that had a tree rework. You're going to be pretty excited. There's one that's a pretty big that I did mention, but most of them were just like minor changes. But a big one actually is they've gone ahead and redone a lot of the confusion cards. So if you've played this game before, you probably like have had the situation that I've had, where it's like some of the confusion cards you run into, like some of the rainbows and some of the like orange ones, you see it and just like, I'm not gonna click that. You know, it's like, it's kind of dog shit. It's not that good. And they went ahead and went through a lot of those cards and specifically like tried reworking them and adding something that's a bit more rewarding. So it actually, when you do get a rainbow card, you're excited. You feel like you're about to get a lot of loot, which I think is going to be good. We obviously don't know how it's going to play out until we just get our hands on the cards and start playing with them. But a lot of them are just being replaced with goblins. Like you have extra drop goblins, and there's even another goblin. I know it's not a goblin these nuts, unfortunately. Yeah, there's a legendary goblin, and there's like an extra drop goblin that is going to be in some of these confusion cards. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, you know, how good these goblins are. Oh, there they show the goblin. But yeah, I'm excited for that. And then on top of that, we have the biggest tree rework of the season. Goddess of Hunting has been a mechanic which, if you've played this game and you've done Goddess of Hunting before, Goddess of Hunting has pretty much always just been like a back burner mechanic. Like, it's just something that if you have the spare points and you have like a spare compass, you just throw it in. You just kind of forget about it, and sometimes it drops you like, you know, a astrolabe and you make a lot of money and you're happy. They're giving Goddess of Hunting a big tree rework so that you can invest way more points in it. As you can see, like, this tree is absolutely massive. They didn't even show the full thing. So this is going to be like way more of a point investment. And then with that, they're also giving us new compasses for Goddess of Hunting, which the one legendary compass, it is going to change your entire map. So instead of it just being like you go through the map, you clear everything, get to the end as fast as possible, and then kill the big boss, you're going to have bosses spawn throughout the map. And every time you kill a boss, it makes the next boss like stronger and drop more loot. So by the end of the map, you just have this like super mega boss that just drops everything for you. Which I think that's going to be really interesting. I think I'm pretty excited. I think it's going to be interesting to do Goddess of Hunting next season. And this entire system is to like make it that if you're playing a build that doesn't have the best clear, like a spike skill, you know, you don't feel that bad compared to other people because you still have mechanics you can farm and make money from. Like, a lot of builds have been like kind of just forced to do void bosses. Like, you know, you just go in, you just farm void bosses the entire season because you have insane single target damage, but you're slower than other people, you have worse clear than other people, you're just not that good at mapping. And this is to try and like make it that those people can still have options for mapping, which I think is that's pretty much a overall net gain. And then another thing, normally I don't talk about like the minor changes to the various mechanics. They are actually doing a change to clockwork, which I thought I'd mention because I am the clockwork person. If you've played clockwork before, you probably know about clockwork roulette. And clockwork roulette is fucking awful because you click it, you run over 2 cogs and you instantly lose. Or there's like the orange variant of the clockwork roulette, where it's like you kill 1 cog and you lose. They're changing it so that the first few cogs will not make you lose. I'm not exactly sure what the cutoff was because it doesn't actually say here what it is, but they did make it though that the chance of you like losing when you initially start off, like the first few cogs, is just non-existent anymore, and you can only start like losing the gamba a bit later, which is gonna feel a lot better. Because one of the worst things when playing clockwork is choosing clockwork roulette, getting ready to gamble, and then just 1 cog in, GG, noobs, get owned. So I'm pretty excited for that. But before you think like, oh, it's a clockwork season and get buffed and stuff, they did actually in the patch notes go ahead and nerf like pretty much all of the clockwork things. So not only did they nerf, they nerfed all of the clockwork stuff basically. They nerfed the cards for clockwork, so you get less drop quantity from cards. They nerfed the compasses, so the compasses are worse, and they nerfed the compass, the ascendant ecliptic compass, to make all of them have just less drop. Like compass drop count on them. So we'll have to see how it plays out. It's probably still going to be fine if you're like a clockwork enjoyer, but it did get nerfed, but at least there was some compensation here and there. And then next up is SS20. So going to the new season, our SS20 boss is going to be, drumroll please, Glacial Abyss. Coldness Tracer Freezing Vortex is the name of it, but the Glacial Abyss boss is getting a rework and is going to be the SS20 boss. I don't know if rework is the correct term for it, but is going to get a mechanic increases for the SS20 fight. And as you can see, this seems pretty intense. You have waves of frost coming in, you have like a very small area to work with. I think it's going to be a really cool fight. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see how it's going to work. If it's a fun fight, this is now the third fight we actually get. There was a Watcher fight turned into a SS20 fight. We're just missing the Seal Fort Watcher, the one that says that the one who's been punished for his sins every single time you go into there, as well as the lightning one. And then, so we mentioned the Afterlight mechanic. Now, in this video, they actually don't talk about what Afterlight drops, like what you get from the Afterlight mechanic. But I assume this new system we're getting, the Nether King's Divinity, is going to be what drops from the Afterlight mechanic. It just makes the most sense. So if you do form Afterlight, you're going to drop a Nether King's Divinity. Now, Nether King's Divinity is a update to the Statue of the New Gods, or an addition to the Statue of New Gods. So in your season, you're going to be using less slates, which is, I guess, probably a nerf to cube in that sense, because people like need less, like one less slate in total from cube. But what you're going to get instead is going to be these Nether King's Divinity. Now, the Nether King's Divinity is a very interesting system, as in genuinely a very interesting system, because it actually has 3 different types that you can get, and each type has like a different layout. So the layout you see here on your screen right now is going to be Nether King's Divinity Judgment. And every time you get a Judgment, it's always going to be in this shape of this like triangle of the 3 blocks. And it's always going to give you the base effect of Judgment, which is divinities have 70% increased affix effect. Divinities links between divinity slates have a 70% increased effect. And now what that essentially means is if you have a +1 skill slate, it becomes a +2 skill slate. And any slate you have just gets 70% increased effect. So if you've ever used an inverse image before, or an inverse prism, it is going to work the exact same way as an inverse prism, which is very, 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 very powerful. In the video, they do a good job of showcasing that. But yeah, so in this setup right now, these 2 slates are between the 3 kings. So both of these 2 slates are getting all of their modifiers increased by 70%. And this does work for like max 71 slates, it works for everything. So if you have a +1 focus blessing slate, it becomes +2 focus blessings. Even though focus blessings is a max 71, which is really interesting. I did a lot of thinking about like the optimal way to set up. And I think the best way to go about this is just using a bunch of Fallen Starlights and then 1 4 slate. I think that's like how you can get the most value out of it, because between these links, you can fit in 3 Fallen Starlights and 1 4 slate, which is going to give you the maximum amount of modifiers that get increased, assuming all of your Fallen Starlights have like 2 mods on them. Or if you're like playing a dex stacker or a strength stacker and you want to just increase your strength and dex, like that's also going to be a very good option for you. So then this is now then showing us like how the crafting works. Essentially how it's going to work is you have on your Nether King's Divinity the authority, which is Judgment, Contamination, Banishment. I'll get to Contamination and Banishment a bit later, once it's relevant in the video. You're going to have a fixed talent node. So here they show only 1 fixed talent node, but in other ones I actually show 2 fixed talent nodes. I'm not exactly sure, like, you know, when do you have 1, when do you have 2, like how that's going to work. But the fixed talent nodes are actually very, 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 very powerful, the ones you can get. Because with the removal of dream interpretations, which I will get to, it is very soon in the video, this is going to be one of your main sources to get, like, Curse on Hit, for example. Because the fixed talents you can get from this are quite powerful. And one of the quite powerful ones is this. When you deal damage, you apply 1 stack of Timid. This is 1 stack of Timid. It should say level 1 Timid. And when your minions deal damage, you do 1 stack. You do 1 level 1 Entangled Pain. So you can get like a curse on the Nether King's Divine Judgment, or like any of the Nether Kings, not Divine Judgment. And on top of that, you can also get like Ill Omen Efficiency. You can get Frostbite effect. You can get Affliction effect. There's quite a few very powerful ones. Especially this numbed one looks very interesting for like any lightning bolt. Because a big problem lightning bolts have is actually the amount of numbs they apply. So applying 2 extra stacks for every nom you apply is going to be very powerful. And then once you do that, you can also get to the crafting. So the crafting is interesting. The best one we've seen so far is 2 orange and 1 ultimate. So this is T1 mod, T1 mod, and T0 mod. Now the T1 mods are literally just your mods from Cube. So if you go into like your talent tree and stuff, and you like look at what Cube can get as a T1 mod, you know, stuff like +1 level, all of these things are like legendary mods. You are just gonna have these exact same mods. It literally just takes from the same pool as like your slates take from. So God of Might's Divine Remnant, legendary. This is gonna give you a legendary mod from any of the God of Might trees. It's not gonna give specifically the God of Might tree. It's gonna be any of the 4 trees within the God of Might tree, like within the God of Might setup. So if you go to God of Might, it will be any legendary node from these. So any of these 5 trees. It's going to give you a random mod. And in the video, they get, you know, 5 damage per 12 strength. But once you get to the ultimate one, like the T0 mod, it actually has its own unique pool of mods that it can choose from. And this unique pool of mods is, well, they're interesting. There's some mods from the unique pool that is exclusive to each banishment. So like if you have Judgment, Contamination, or Demolisher, you can get a unique pool, like a unique mod that only that banishment can get. You have Judgment exclusive brands. There's going to be stuff like every site on the link also gives you 4% additional damage, or 4% aura effect, or you give an extra 20% effect for the links, whatever. Contamination and Banishment is not going to make sense yet because you haven't seen them yet. But there's also going to be universal brands, which can be something as simple as just getting an additional +1 level to all skills. Or just getting like a 14% additional damage. Most of these mods do average out to roughly 14% additional when you actually look at them. There's some that are actually a bit better. Like I do think the losing 50 crit rating for 18% additional damage is a pretty decent trade-off. Because it's very easy to make up 50 crit rating and 4% additional is 4% additional. Or if you're playing like an aura stacker, you can probably make this fearless, giving you 5% chance to deal double damage. You can probably like scale this up to an absurd amount. But the exclusive brands, from what I saw, most of them seemed really good. Like to be just like a slightly better, or like a tier above the universal ones. Now, there's actually a locking mechanic that you see here. You can lock one of these brand nodes. So the way that I describe it in the video is that when you get all of your brands and you do all 3 brandings, you can then choose to lock one of them if you like, you know, you get something really good, and then re-roll the other 2. So you can just keep on. As far as I saw, I didn't see any like plasticity, I think it's called. Basically the thing that prisms have, where like you can only craft on so many times. So you can just keep on crafting and crafting and crafting, just keep on going and throwing money at it until you get like at least 2 good mods. Because one of the mods is just going to be permanently locked and you don't have to worry about it like ever going away. Which is pretty nice. It doesn't seem that bad of a system to like craft on. And yeah, there's all sorts of like interesting T0 mods you can get. They're all listed in the patch notes. So the first one we have is like the King's is Judgment, which we already showed to you, but you can actually see in this video. So this, in the video, they put in a +1, +1, +1, +1, +1 slate. And when you put it in the Judgment, all of these mods then become +2. So that is like why this is like a very, very powerful option. But then you also have Contamination. So Contamination is actually very, very interesting how it works. The way that Contamination works is all of the nodes on your Nether King's Divinity. So, you know, I just said you can have 2 fixed talents on your Nether King's Divinity. And you can have like the brand nodes. The fixed talents do not get projected, but the ones you brand on, so the 3 mods you brand on, are going to get projected to the other adjacent divinities. So in this video, right, he has his banishment, his containment state, and it's touching a starlight up here. It's touching a moth. It's touching a moth. It's touching a moth. It's touching a corner. It's touching a corner. it's touching a moth, and it's touching a fallen starlight. So he's touching a total of 8 modifiers. All 8 modifiers are going to have the same stats as his Nether King's Divinity, as well as the stats that the corner or the fallen starlight or the moth or whatever already has. So in addition to the mods you already have, so like your 2 corner mods, you're projecting the 3 mods from the Nether King's Divinity onto that slate at 20% effectiveness. So this Nether King's Divinity has cold damage on critical strike, additional max lightning damage, and chance for your horizontal projectiles to return. And all of them are getting projected on every single one of these slates that is touching the contamination and getting it at 80% effect. At 20% effect. Which essentially, if you think about that, your main slate here is 100% effect. And then you have 8 slates touching it, which are all being projected at 20% effect. So essentially, your Nether King's Divinity here is just every mod on it has 160% effect for a total of 260% effect. So if you have like 12% dex, instead of it being 12% dex, it's now going to be 31.2% dex. I think that's like the best way to put it. So that's pretty fucking good. Because on top of this one state mod giving you 31% dex, you can also have dex here, 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 and I guess technically dex here, but your last mod is probably not going to be a dex mod. So you can get to absurd amounts of like attribute stacking in the next season using contamination. I'm just not entirely sure if that's going to be better than actually using judgment. I haven't really done the math on it yet, because it's so situational the way you're going to work with for this. But I do think contamination makes a lot of sense if you have... Oh, it should make a decent amount of sense for someone playing with a Rift slate. Or a Space Rift, I mean. So you can do the Space Rift like this, and then your contamination slate like this. And then have, like, most of the slates touching your Space Rift, also touching the contamination slate. So there's some options, but we'll have to see, like, just, you know, what's going to be the best way. I did spend some time, like, looking at all of them, trying to figure out how to fit in a pedigree. And I think all of them can fit in a pedigree fairly decently. The only one that felt really awkward was, like, Banishment, but it wasn't that bad at all. On some of these, you're just going to have to, like, accept that your prairie is not going to be as, like, convenient as you're used to. And then the last one we have is going to be Banishment. So Banishment is going to be this like vertical 3 lines, which we already saw. And then on top of that, it's going to give you an effect. It's either going to give you Demolisher, Steep Strike, Shadow Strike, Spellburst, Ill Omen, Quagmire, I don't know what's called Quagmire, Projection, or Provision, or Tangle, or Indomitable. It's Indomitable, Neo? Oh no, it isn't. Okay. So these are really interesting. All of these have their own effects. Demolisher is essentially just adding a lot of value from doing paralyzed stacking. So if you actually do like use a 2-handed weapon in this game, you probably already know about this node, which is 10% inflicted paralyzed effect when holding 2-handed weapon. This is a very, very, very strong like mod to like stack, to do paralyzed stacking, because you can scale your paralyzed effect to a very high number, and it's very efficient to scale paralyzed effect, because it has baseline 15% increased damage taken. So if you're increasing that baseline 15% increased damage taken by 80, you're adding an additional 12% damage taken by the enemies. So instead of them taking 15% damage, they're taking 27%. Now, on top of like adding 12% for every one of these mods, you're now also adding that the multi skills deal 20% additional damage to paralyzed enemies, and bonuses to paralyzed effect apply to this. So this 20% is getting scaled up by an additional 80%. So instead of it being 20%, if you just have one of those mods, it's now 16 plus 20, which is going to be 36% additional damage to Demolisher skills. I think this one's really interesting. Normally when you play Demolisher skills, you do actually go for like deal wielding. So this would change my setup a bit. I would need to play around with it. But I definitely think doing like a deal wield Demolisher skill build is gonna be very much like viable. Previously, it was actually worse. Like, at least in my testing stuff, it is worse to do this than to run a two one-handers. But I have seen people do two-handed demolisher skills, and I think this is going to give demolisher skills like two-handers the edge over one-handers. Then you have Steep Strike. Steep Strike is really interesting. For every 1% Steep Strike chance you have above 100%, one of your core Steep Strike skills have a chance to get triggered. And the triggered skill does 70% additional damage and gains 70% skill area. So the way that I read this and the way that I understood it, because I don't know essentially if you only use Berserking Blade, for example, and you just attack with Berserking Blade, which is a Steep Strike skill, I don't know if it's gonna trigger your Berserking Blade, or if this specifically wants you to use two different Steep Strike skills. I assume it wants you to use two different Steep Strike skills, but a build that I was thinking could be like really good for that then would be going Whirlwind. Because if you play Whirlwind and you get 20% Steep Strike chance, which 200% Steep Strike chance is quite a lot of investment. It is actually quite difficult to reach. You can then have a second 5-link for Focus Slash. So you're just running around, spinning with your Whirlwind, and just shooting out non-stop Focus Slashes, which, yes, which Whirlwind itself does a lot of damage, but like Focus Slash is like absurdly an absurd amount of damage, and on top of it being an absurd amount of damage, you're giving it an additional 70% damage and 70% skill area. So I think the Steep Strike one's going to be one of like the coolest ones to play around. I did misread it at first when I was reading this. I thought it caused the skill to only deal 70% of its total damage, but now that I read it again, I actually think it's like 170% of its original damage. So that's actually like super powerful if that's the case. And the reason you use Whirlwind is Whirlwind just has a lot of like cast speed. Like it has 100% built-in ASPD, additional attack speed built in. But a build that I was thinking could be really interesting is if you've played Berserking Blade before, you know that Berserking Blade scales the exact same way that you would scale a Fervor Slash build. And I was thinking like something that could be really interesting is playing Rayhan 2. Having Berserking Blade Ran 2, so you're just running around and your Rayhan is just going crazy, constantly shooting out, these big Berserking Blades. And then for any beefy enemy you might uncover, you're just spamming Focus Slash because of your Berserking Blade on that enemy. Now, something I was questioning is when using a Steep Strike skill, if you play Ran 2, that's it kind of using. But as far as I'm aware, your Seething Spirit does count as you using the skill, so it should work for that. Banishment Shadow Strike, this one is really cool. This one made me want to play Erica 2 almost. The only reason I'm not doing it is just because I don't know how rare this is going to be to get. But every time you use your mobility skill, so every time you use Spiral Strike, you're going to trigger your Shadow Strike skill to cast twice. And the reason this is really interesting is Erica 2 is already like a very speedy character. If you invest into movement speed on Erica 2, you invest into a lot of attack speed and a lot of movement speed, you can get your Spiral Strike to be very fast. And one way that you can do that actually is this talent right here. 35% of bonuses to movement speed is also applied to the CDR of mobility skills. You can take this in Blade Runner, you can get this on a Slate mod, and you can inverse prism this, and then choose it from inverse prism, and you can have it that like over 110% of your movement speed is applied to the cooldown recovery speed of your mobility skills. That is an absurd amount of like cast speed or like CDR that you're going to be getting for your Spiral Strike, and CDR directly like relates to how fast you can cast the ability. This is essentially just a different way of scaling your attack speed. So if you reach like 300% movement speed on Erica 2 and you do this, you're just going to be like actually holding down E and going at Mach 10 speed, and every time you press Shadow Strike, every time you press Spiral Strike, you're just Shadow Striking twice. And I think this build's playstyle is literally going to be that you just hold down Spiral Strike, you hold down your loot button, you're going to one-shot everything on the map, and just go to the end boss as soon as possible. And I think that's going to feel really, really good to play with. Then there's also Banishment Spellburst, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's essentially just an activation meter for Spellburst, if I'm not mistaken. Because it says, when Spellburst charges reaches the cap, trigger the core spell skill on the nearest enemy within 25 meters, and attempt to activate the core spell skill Spellburst. This is essentially just gain 28% additional damage on hit, and get a built-in activation medium, which I think that's really good. Like, I think this is really, really good for one reason only. If you actually play this game and you want to do like a Surging Inspiration build, for example, you know, it's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to buy my Surging Inspiration. On League Sword, this is like 1,000 FE. I need to buy the Corroded, so it's going to be like 5,000 FE. But, you know, that's like, you know, it's worth it for how much damage I gain. And I need to buy Burst Activation. Oh. My Burst Activation not only reduces my movement speed, but this item on League Sword is like, unironically, like 20,000 FE. It's like one of the most expensive activation mediums in the game. So instead of that, you just equip Banishment Spellburst if it's available early on, which we just don't know yet. And you're just gaming, you're just fucking having a great time. I genuinely think this is gonna feel so good. It's gonna feel so fucking good if it is actually viable. If it's actually like possible to get it early on. Because if you're playing like Erica 2 and stuff, this is one of the biggest like hurdles you need to come over is getting your spellburst up and running, because playing Erica 2 any other way is just not fun. Also, as a side note about the spellburst changes, because there's a bunch of... They did remove a lot of max spellbursts. If you play Surging Inspiration, you just don't really care about any of those changes. Because Surging Inspiration just equips Beacon, and then you kind of just... That's it. You don't need anything else. So it's kind of just whatever for Surging Inspiration builds. It just sucks for like being too... and for like Salt River builds, but... Surging Inspiration's either way just better than Salt River, so yeah. Okay, Banishment Ill Omen, so this is another source of applying Ill Omen. You apply 4 stacks of Ill Omen when you reach the enemy, and it gives Ill Omen Calling you now. Which, I don't know. This one's very generic. Like, Ill Omen's very powerful for mapping, and being able to apply 4 stacks immediately is just going to make your dot builds feel way better, because the amount you actually need to like invest and do to go and one-shot all of the enemies is just going to be significantly less. But it's so generic and plain. Like, this is like exclusively, you're going to use it maybe early game for mapping, but I don't see any build that's going to use this in late game, because in late game you just have other ways of applying Ill Omen. It's like, I don't know, it feels much weaker than the ones above. It definitely feels like a step down, which is very interesting for me. But Ill Omen in general got a ton of buffs in the new patch, so Ill Omen does look really broken. It's already been really broken. I don't know why they keep buffing it, but I guess nobody plays Ill Omen because it doesn't show on the target dummy. But it's like one of the best. It's literally, if you play a dot build, you should have Ill Omen in it because it's just that good. And they made it that easy to get now. Then Quagmire. Quagmire is an interesting one. For every one curse affecting the enemy, it skills do an additional 20% additional damage to it. This is really interesting to me. Because if you've played like Shackles of Malice and stuff like that in the past, that was essentially like the curse stacking build where like you want to get as many curses as possible on the enemy. And this is like bringing that playstyle back of like curse stacking and stuff. I think the only thing this is really viable for, though, would be for like dot damage, because it's kind of difficult to imagine like what combination of curses you could use for any other Terra skill. Like there's no Terra skill that really that stood out to me as being like the all elements Terra skill, so you can use like 4 curse, you know, like Timid and each of the elemental curses on it. Like none of that really made sense to me, and the only like setups really that can curse stack efficiently does seem to be dot builds. But then the other issue is like, how are you getting your curses? Like, okay, you can get Entangled Pain from the Nether King. You can get like a base, but like other than that one, like you need to get like base affixes to get your curses. It seems really difficult to get all of these curses just for 20% additional damage. But it is still pretty decent. Like in an endgame setup, I could definitely see this being worth it, just because if you're gonna do curse stacking, you're gonna do curse stacking either way. And the curses you can choose from is actually really good, because you have Entangled Pain. Let's see, is there a way to see the curses? Yeah, so you can have Entangled Pain on your Nether King. You can have Base Affix Corruption. I believe it's corruption that's on the neck. Where do I see base affixes? Okay, I'm pretty sure you can have like corruption on your neck. Maybe corruption's on the ring. Let's see. Yeah, base affix, corruption on the neck. And then you have 2 ring slots where like you can get ominous. Well, you definitely want to have ominous somewhere in the build. Like ominous is always really good to get. And then if you want to get another curse, you could do Dazzled, but I don't even think it's worth it to go for Dazzled. I would just go Ominous, Corruption, and Entangled Pain. And then you just need 2 base affixes, which I'm a bit 50-50 on base affix curses, because they're pretty expensive, but they did say with the removal of Dream Interpretations that they're going to try and make the base affixes more common, so who knows, maybe it is, like, not that bad. Maybe it's, like, actually pretty reasonable. Also, wait, is Ominous on rings? I'm pretty sure it is. Pretty sure I've seen it on rings. Yeah, it's on rings. Oh, also, I guess you can also get a curse from your Vorax. Vorax items can get curses. So you do have a few options to get, like, some curses. I imagine for something like this, you would play only 3 curses, because if you play 3 curses, you get +1 curse from your chess piece, or your Vorax chess piece, and you get +1 curse from your pet. Just a very simple and easy way to get 3 curses. Like, there are ways to get for more curses, but I don't think there's any Terra skills that specifically, like, you know, build around curses or, like, gain much value from curses. And if you're only using it for this, you're probably better off, like, investing elsewhere. Because you do reach a point where your curses aren't doing anything anymore. And, like, the curses aren't worth equipping. Then we have Nether King Projection, which this one was also really... I didn't quite get it. I think the main benefit of projection is just having permanent horizontal penetration. So all of your attacks all just have penetration always, which is the same as like stray birds. But basically just having the stray bird in a different place and not having to equip stray birds. I guess that's the value of like banishment projection. Because it's damage-wise, it didn't seem that like good to me. Like you gain 4 stacks of Nether King's 5 stacks of Nether King's projection. And then you have 18% additional damage, but you also take more damage. It seems really, I don't know. I'm a bit confused by like the balance between some of these. It feels like there's definitely some favoritism towards the melee builds in this game, which that's a first. We've never seen that one before. That was a joke, by the way. Melee builds always get favored. And then banishment provision. Now this one's really interesting because they're obviously using this because they want like non-sage builds, like minion-based characters, to do minion builds. So non-restoration elixir effects apply to minions instead of yourself. 100% elixir skill effect. And then minions affected by elixirs deal 40% additional damage. And on top of that, they added like all sorts of new minion stuff in this patch. I do think that I might have to like learn how minions work. I don't actually know much about the archetype at the moment, so I need to like figure it out. Because I feel like there might be a lot of potential for like a minion sage build actually just being good. But 100% elixir effect is absurd. That is a ton of elixir effect. We'll have to see if it's actually better than just playing like a Moto or an Iris or something. But it is something worth considering. It is quite a shame that it says non-restoration elixir effects, because if you get your restoration elixir to affect the minions, it would be absurdly broken. Banishment Tangle. This one's really interesting. So Banishment Tangle makes it that your tangles are attached to your minions that follow you around. And then when you make tangles, for every 40 max life on your synth troop, the tangle gains 1% additional tangle damage. I don't know how much max life synth troops get, but this one just looks cool. I mean, there's not much more to say about it. It just looks really interesting. I feel like I want to see people make a build around it just for the cool factor. I don't know shit about minions. I don't know how this is gonna be, but it looks really, really, really cool. And yeah, this one's really weird because it is true. This tangles, you're still the one scaling the tangle damage. So I don't actually know for like who this build is, because it's not like your synth troops are the ones doing all the damage, but it's definitely gonna be a problem to figure out. Because honestly, like if you're giving up one skill slot and you're giving up a Nether King's, but you get synth troops, and I don't know how much life synth troops have, but let's say your synth troops have 4,000 life, so you're doing 100% additional damage. Like, it's a trade-off. We'll have to see like how this plays out. Badgeman Indomitable. Indomitable is broken. This is just the fucking bossing one. Like, if whatever setup you're doing, if you're gonna go into bossing, you just equip Indomitable, and it takes no skill at all to play the game anymore. Because what it does basically is when taking fatal damage, you gain temporary life equal to 100% of your max life, and you lose that life over the next 4 seconds, and it's a 20-second cooldown. Now, it says 20-second cooldown here, so as far as I'm aware, you can just scale this with CDR. If you get enough cooldown reduction, you can just get this to like a very, very low cooldown. Now, cooldown reduction is not the easiest to come by. It is actually a difficult stat to like stack. But there is various like sources of CDR in the game, such as your belt, for example, or boots. And, you know, let's say you do get like 100% CDR. This is on a 20-second cooldown. Sorry, on a 10-second cooldown. When you're doing a Supreme Showdown boss, every 10 seconds you can just die and like just heal yourself back up, and it's like fine. That seems really good to me. Like this seems like they took the old Determined, which Determined was really strong back in the day, like really, really broken back in the day. Because Determined, if you don't know what it does, upon doing fatal damage, you have a 30% chance to keep at least one life. I believe this back in the day was a 100% chance, but it had like an 8-second cooldown, and it was just like the most broken thing ever for Supreme Showdown. You basically just have that back at the cost of your like Nether King, which, considering how much damage is in the game and how you can just like infinitely scale every single build, that's not a big downside at all to deal with. But yeah, sorry, this segment was really long. There's just so much to talk about Nether Kings. Maybe it even needs its own video, but I think I went pretty in depth in this video. Let's go through the rest of the trailer and just talk about everything. So this is a big one. I did mention this before, but dream interpretations have been removed from the game. The dream mechanic is still in the game. Dream still exists. You can still do the dream mechanic. The only thing that got removed is the dream interpretations. So the dream talkings that you would farm from dream are not in the game anymore. You can no longer put dream affixes on items, thank God. But the mechanic itself is still in the game. I'm making this distinction because a lot of people seem to think that they just fully removed dream from the game because of the Pax Rate exchange. It is still in the game. We do not know how good it's going to be. Obviously, there is going to be compensatory buffs to dream. To compensate for the loss of dream talkings, they are going to buff the dream mechanic and make it give you more loot. We don't know if it's going to be good, or if it's just not going to be enough, or if it's just going to be dog shit. For all we know, dream is just going to be an FE printer. You're just going to go in there, get 500 FE every nightmare, and it's just going to be absolutely insane. Or maybe it's going to be like dog shit. We don't know. But stop thinking it's removed from the game. It is not removed from the game. It is still in the game, and nobody knows if it's going to be good or bad. You have the entire season to exchange this pet. So you have the entire season to like play the mechanic, feel it out, see if you like think it has any potential, and if it doesn't have any potential, to just exchange the pet and go to the exchange shop and get something else. That being said, though, the last time they did this was Eternal, when they reworked Eternal. And yeah, it didn't work out super well for Eternal. Let's just hope it works out better for Dream. Now, with all this being said, we're also going to be getting a new Ultimate Legendary, which is a very interesting one. Phantom's Elegy. Now, Phantom's Elegy is actually... It is definitely worthy of the Ultimate Legendary title, I will tell you that. Maybe it's not called Elegy. Oh, it's called Pantheon's Elegy in the fucking patch notes. So, Phantom's Elegy is very interesting. It's a belt slot, so it is going to be replacing Eternity, which I should also mention, Eternity did get reworked and nerfed in the patch notes. As far as we can tell, they removed the buff duration from Eternity, but made all the buffs slightly weaker. So you can like stack your Eternity up to like 200 stacks, and it's never going to expire. But overall, the buffs are like weaker than they were before. It should be a net nerf for the Eternity item, but like it's not the end of the world or anything. Eternity is and so is going to be a very, very powerful item. Hopefully, if anything, it should make it slightly cheaper for people. Phantom's Elegy has 3 random modifiers it rolls in it. Your first modifier is guaranteed to be a Dirge of the 6 gods. So a Dirge of the 6 gods is basically a mod from one of the main gods, like Might, Hunting, Knowledge, War, Deception, etc. And then the next 2 modifiers can either be one of these main gods, or it can be a lesser god. And the lesser gods are slightly weaker than the main gods, but they're pretty, like, they're not that much weaker or anything. It's not the end of the world if you, like, don't get 3 main gods, for example, because there are some very powerful options in the lesser gods. And these gods are completely random, essentially, what you're going to get. You're just going to press ID and you're just going to hope for the best. And either you're going to ID a one-of-a-kind item that is going to go for like 100 billion FE, it's just going to be like 5 mirrors worth, or you're going to ID something that you're just going to sell for like 5k FE and you're going to be sad. If even 5k FE. It might just be so bad that just nobody wants it. With that being said, I'm going to mention some of the gods here that I thought stood out for me as being very, very, very good. God of Might is going to be very powerful, because 6% additional max life is really good, and its defense is just absurdly good for any like life stacker build, and I think life stacking is still going to be meta this season. Goddess of Knowledge I thought was extremely interesting. Goddess of Knowledge essentially makes it that you want to stack all 3 stats, like all 3 attributes stacking, and for every 3 points of the lowest of each stat, you get 2% additional damage, but here's what makes it so good. It has an upper limit of 80%, but if the lowest stats are equal, each stat is calculated multiplicatively. So what this means is, if you don't balance your stats, this Goddess of Knowledge thing is kind of not that good. But if you manage to balance all 3 your attributes, and then on top of that, you get it to like, you know, like 150 attributes, like 140 attributes. I think 150 should be enough. Yeah, 150 is enough to like get to like the cap, because the cap is 80%. If you get like all your stats balanced at like 150 or so, you can do it slightly less. I think 120 should be the minimum. Yeah, 120 is the minimum. You're going to have 80% additional damage multiplicative. So this one modifier is going to give you 1 times 8 times 1 times 8 times 1.8. Just one modifier in a belt. It's just going to give you 5.x times your damage. Now, it isn't actually 5.8x your damage for one reason. You are losing the base value of your stats. So like normally a build would get like 400, 500 main attributes, which is like 250% additional damage. You're losing that like 250% additional damage, but you're instead putting it into balancing all of your stats. And if you balance your stats out, not only is it like more than double the damage, but you also probably are going to have some spare points that you use in attributes that you can use elsewhere. So overall, this is just very, very powerful. I'm very excited for it. And then the last one that was really interesting is God of Machines. Persistently triggers core active skills every 0.2 seconds. Basically, you just get old rhythm back. If you want 0.2 second rhythm, here's your 0.2 second rhythm. Those are the 3 gods that I thought were especially good, but the other ones all have like builds around them. They're just less exciting. They don't excite me personally, at least. Then for the lesser gods, I don't quite remember exactly what all of these were. Onslaughter was really good, because Onslaughter gives you level 25 Timid Curse on enemies, and it gives you immune to curses, which, that's just... If you have a 2-handed weapon, you just have Timid built in, and you're immune to curses. That's awesome. Warlord was also really interesting, because it makes getting 90 max res a lot easier if you have Warlord. So the reason it's much easier is, if you actually look at like max res, the only tree that actually has max res in it is the fire res tree. No other tree has max res on their tree except for maximum fire res. So getting 90 max fire res is by far the easiest out of all of the max reses. And if you have this Warlord mod, you just get 90, 90, 90. A lot of these... Oh, also Assassin is very interesting. So if you played back in the day, Numb used to be like 5% additional damage taken, just flat out. And then the Assassin trees, like Numb Conductive, made it 10% additional damage taken. Nowadays, it's only lightning damage taken, and it's 11% additional. The reason for that change was that pretty much every single build in the game, without fail, had numb like in their builds because it was just a free double damage essentially. So they're bringing back Legacy Numb, slightly nerfed. If you have the Pantheon's Elegy, which I think that's pretty interesting. And beyond that, I mean, just a bunch of these, like, they're interesting in their own ways. They all have, like, various things that they can do. Like, Psychic, for example, for every Affliction effect, you get 1% Reaping Duration. This is very powerful. It is a lot easier to get Affliction effect than it is to get Reaping Duration, and Reaping Duration is extremely powerful. This mod is going to be, like, absolutely mandatory on a ton of builds. Whereas, like, I wouldn't be surprised... I'm not going to be surprised if a lot of builds are literally going to buy a one-mod Pantheon's Elegy, or, sorry, Phantom's Elegy. Oh, no, it is Pantheon's Elegy, I'm stupid. Pantheon's Elegy, just because one mod enables their build that much. So I do think this item is actually a very interesting item. I'm actually excited to see how it's going to be. But some of them are just completely garbage. There's some that are just so utterly weak, I don't really understand why they exist. And one of them is like this, Steel Vanguard. When casting Elixir skill, triggers a random of 20 Elixir skill with a 4-second interval. I don't understand why... Like, who wants this? You can cast an Elixir skill every 4 seconds. You get an extra Elixir skill as a random one. It's just bad. So stuff like this is just like, I don't understand the logic here. This 4-second interval is just way too long. Like, if this is like a 1-second interval, it makes way more sense, because then it's like, ooh, this is like powerful. But every 4 seconds, you have like a 50% chance to just get a completely and utterly useless elixir. I don't know, it's like, it's so weird. But some of the other mods are very powerful and build defining. Exist to make ballots break, pretty much. Okay. But yeah, that's the new Ultimate Legendary, that's very exciting. Now, our new hero is actually going to be Selena 2. I already made a reaction to her, but now we actually know what Selena 2 is going to do. She is a Terra-based hero. In fact, she has built-in Righteous Fire. So, if we go back to Selena year trade predictions, everyone here who said Righteous Fire, good job. I'm proud of you for guessing correctly. Built-in RF Fireblade, good job. You're just that smart. She is the Righteous Fire hero, essentially. So, Terra skills normally are like a big circle that you place down, and it just like remains there for a while. Her hero trait transforms it, that the Terra skill is always casted on yourself, and it just follows you around as you like go around, as you just move around. And her entire concept is Terra skills. All the Terra skills basically got changed. Terra skills got a rework in general. So if you've played Terra skills in the past, you might know that there's like a Terra max quantity, and you used to scale that, so you would have multiple Terra skills down on the ground at once. It is now always capped at 1. You can only have 1 Terra skill on the ground. But the whole like playstyle around Terra skills is you wanna get Terra skill charges, like your ability charges. You wanna scale that up, and you wanna get Terra skill charge duration, because essentially you want to have as many charges as possible, and you want to store the charges as fast as possible. Because every time you use your Terra skill, it's going to consume all of the charges. And you're going to have this Omega Giga buff Terra skill for every charge consumed. That just follows you around until you have max charges again, and then you can recast your Terra skill. And then a lot of, like, there's some, like, stuff here to make recasting the Terra skill, like, you know, worth recasting. Just some very interesting traits, actually. So one of her traits is just built-in activation medium. Any character that has a built-in activation medium, I fucking love. I love built-in activation mediums. I love just not having to press my buttons. It just makes the game so much more fun. So this trait right here gives you +1 max like Terra charge stack limit, which is already really good. And then on top of that, it also gives you built-in activation medium Terra, which the activation medium Terra just uses your Terra skill whenever it reaches max charges. And it makes it that its first skill deals 30% more damage. This trait's amazing. And then on top of that, you also have the left side here. So the left side, at first look, the left side to me was like, oh, this is the reaping version, like the dot build. But the more I looked at it, I actually think a lot of hit-based builds are going to go to the left side. You go like right side early on, and then left side early on. Because this first one, enemies within the core terror skill area or affected by level 1 Ominous Curse, even if you don't, like, this is kind of useless, right? This kind of doesn't do anything if you're not playing a dot build. But, you know, it still is giving you, like, additional damage against cursed enemies. This is kind of whatever. The big one actually is this, the Cycle I Resist. So 25% of your increases and reductions to crit strike is going to apply to your core skill terror duration. And whenever you cast your core terror skill, you're going to reap the entire duration of that skill and deal the damage to all the enemies in the duration. This does not scale, as far as we know. This does not scale off of reaping CDR. It doesn't scale off of anything to do with reaps. This is its own thing. Oh wait, it says reap damage over time. Okay, so it's never, sorry, this left side's never getting used for hit base. This is always getting used for dot damage. I didn't see this damage over time line. But yeah, if you're playing a dot variant of the build, you're always gonna go to this left side. Because this line right here is very interesting. This doesn't scale off of reap CDR. This scales off of your Terra CDR. Or like how many Terra charges you have and how much you can stack up your Terra charges. Like how quickly you can reach max Terra charges. Because every time you recast your Terra skill, you're just reaping your entire Terra skills, like remaining duration for all the enemies in there. This is not like a normal dot reap. It is completely different. It's actually very interesting that it doesn't function with reaps in the sense that the way you scale it is with Terra CDR, which I thought was really cool. Now, if you're playing a hit-based build, almost everyone's just going to go down here in the middle into the Spellburst variant. So, your first talent here is just going to make a big red tornado. You see this tornado here? That when enemies are hit by this tornado, they just take an absurd amount of additional damage and they're slowed, which that's awesome. We love that. Your trait here is going to give you a bunch of Terra Charge Restoration Speed, and increases and decreases the Spellburst stack limit also apply to the Terra Charge stack limit. This trait is really good. This is really, really good. If you get +3 Spellburst in your build, which it shouldn't be that difficult, they did remove a lot of sources of Spellburst, but like you'll figure something out. You can use Beacon early on, and eventually with prices like a Priceless Ring, you can get +1 Spellburst on a Priceless Ring. You know, there's ways to get this, or like, yeah, there's various ways to get this. You can also do like an early game Vorax. This is just giving you 3 Terror Charges. 3 Terror Charges, by the way, is essentially just 78% additional damage for all of your Terror skills. That's really broken. And then you have Lonely Ensemble. Same thing, it scales off of your spell bursts. And for every spell burst you have, it creates an additional Crimson Shade that is dancing with you. So we can see this in the video. These Crimson Shades are all getting spawned by you, and they all have their own Terra skill that's doing damage. They just cast your Terra skill once, they just remain for the duration of the Terra skill, and then they disappear. But when they disappear, you know, you're spawning a new one every 1 second. So one disappears because the Terra skill ran out, the next one shows up. And you're just constantly cycling like these 3 shades that all do damage. And yes, they do deal like less damage than you. But I mean, even if they're only doing 50% of your damage, this is still a 1.5x multiplier. Oh, sorry, a 2.5x multiplier. This just gives you 150% additional damage. That's broken. This is so good. This is really fucking good. This is really fucking good. Like, these 3 taunts here are just so obviously like the best thing to do for a hit-based build. Never ever use Crimson Endless Dance. This thing is completely garbage. Drenched in Hem. I'm sure there's gonna be some like life stacker build that uses Drenched in Hem. I just don't know how to say this, but it just doesn't look that good. Like, numerically speaking, like, I feel like even if you play a life stacker build, you would still just go 3 Spellburst. You would still just go 3 Spellburst and not bother with Drenched Hem and still do your life stacker setup. This just doesn't do anything. It's just numerically not there. That being said, there's a lot of like new skills and stuff that added for Cena 2 that makes sense for life stacking. Like, you have Thornfield. Thornfield literally just gives you Consume. Like, every second, you just take 9% of your max life as true damage, and you can even use a support that increases this to 30%.
Meow, meow, meow.
That's awesome. With all that being said, they did add a bunch of new Terra skills because of the Terra skill rework. We have Thornfield, which like drains your max life and does first dot damage. This is for dot bolt specifically, though. We have Tidal, which is for on hit, and it does cold damage, and it's by far like it like shoots out these like explosion water eruptions. Also, I'm gonna say this: for every 0.8 seconds, water erupts with 2 turns beneath the enemy's feet. From what we understand and from what we know, I'm almost 99% certain this every 0.8 seconds is gonna get scaled down with your cast speed. We don't know yet because we don't have TLI DB for some reason. But your cast speed is almost certainly just going to reduce this duration and make this frequency less. Since a lot of people seem to be like concerned about it. What about the activation medium? I mean, as soon as you can afford it, you're just going to buy the activation medium. Like, instead of using this, you're just going to buy the activation medium. Oh, also I should mention, Sina can only use 3 of these traits. So like early on, you would do like this plus this and probably plus this and just use like, you know, beacon early on. And then once you can replace activation medium, or if you're just willing to self-cast, because I mean self-casting is not the end of the world. It's a terror skill. You can have self-cast like every few seconds. Like it's not even that bad, honestly. Then you'll eventually use Lonely Ensemble. They did rework terror skills in general, other than giving us new ones. So other than changing the max quantity of terror skills, they also increased the area of terror skills. So air skills are of a bigger area. And also, instead of having a 3-second duration, they now have a 6-second duration. So it is really going to be one of those things which is like use and forget. You know, it's meant to last a long time. It's meant to be much bigger. It's meant to like be a lot less of a pain in the ass, basically. With all that being said, Tidewell summons like 2 tons of water. It looks really good. Let's see if we can get to the video where it shows everything. Okay, so we're showing Nether Kings. We're showing Nether Grass first. So Nether Grass, it looks okay. I mean, it just pulls enemies to the center and deals damage, and it's a dot skill. It's not that exciting for me, but it's probably going to be very good. This one's really interesting. So this is Stormfield. Stormfield basically makes it that you do lightning damage, and for every target the lightning, like, it does this Thunderstrike pulses, which can hit multiple enemies, and for every enemy hit, it deals additional damage, but it also hits you and your minions. So if you're using like modules and stuff, this lightning damage is bouncing off those modules to increase the skill's damage, which is an interesting concept. And it looks pretty cool, but we'll have to see just how good it actually is, because lightning damage in this game just tends to be way worse than any other damage type, because they just refuse to like fix lightning. Fallen Sword. This is the one that interests me. This is why, if I play Selena too, it's because I want to play this build. This looks absolutely insane. This fucking skill is so cool. So what Fallen Star does is it makes it that every 0.8 seconds you're shooting out these 3 comets that hit the enemies, and these comets can shotgun. And it's a barrage skill. Which, the way the barrage skills work is like every barrage increases the previous barrage damage. They don't show the numbers here, but the damage numbers on Fallen Star is pretty bad. You know, it's only 300 to 600 spell fizz damage, and it's only 88% effectiveness. But the reason for that is because it is a barrage skill. I don't fully understand barrage mechanics. I need to like learn about them, and you know, this would be a very good way to learn about barrage mechanics. But this skill just looks absolutely awesome. Where you're just shooting like infinite barrages, you're getting more and more barrage count, and every barrage makes the previous barrage do more damage. I think Fallen Star is going to be really fun. I think a lot of people are going to play it, just because of how it looks. Like, this is just awesome. This is the Thornfield we mentioned, which just drains your life. And this is the Tidewell. So yeah, these are like the new because they added. They also added 2 new deals for Sage. Agony Dew, which gives you Affliction effect and dot damage. This is a massive buff, like a ginormous buff to the Burning Shot Ignite Bolt, by the way, for Sage that I did. And Prism Butterfly Distillate, which gives you a ton of pen. Now, generally with spells, you don't need pen, but, you know, this amped up of Elixir effect is so much pen that, like, it's just going to be worth to use. It's just a lot of pen. And also, it looks really cute. I like the, like, rainbow and the butterfly and stuff. Okay. And then with all of that being said, we're also getting a new game mode. I shouldn't say game mode, but if you've done City Defense before, City Defense got replaced with a new challenge mode, which is going to be a single player challenge mode. Now, if you've played Diablo 3 before and you've done Greater Rifts, you probably know a lot about... You probably know exactly what this is. Divine Ascent is literally just Diablo 3 Greater Rifts. You go in on like a low tier, you have to get progress and kill the boss within a time limit before the timer finishes. And then there's gonna be like special effects and stuff in the mechanic itself. You're gonna have like special events and special mechanics happen. And as you're like clearing the boss, clearing the map out, you're gonna go up in tiers. And as you go up in tiers, not only is there gonna be a leaderboard, so you can rank yourself compared to other people on the leaderboards. There's also gonna be a first clear leaderboards for like whoever gets tier 100 first or tier whatever first. And on top of all of that, you need to do this mechanic if you want to get a free pet, because this is replacing City Defense. So unfortunately, there's no more City Defense carries gonna happen. You're gonna have to make a good build that can get to all the way up to tier 35, which we'll have to see how difficult tier 35 is. But I imagine people are gonna reach like over tier 100 and stuff. I'm very excited for this mechanic. I think I'm definitely like, once the season's done, like once I've killed 21, I'm gonna put a lot of effort and focus into like trying to make a good build to push Greater Rifts. Divine Ascents. And lastly, to close off this video, we do have a new pack spirit, as always. The battle pack spirit is gonna be this cutie pie, and she's gonna be a Terra based pack spirit, which at level 6 you do get +1 Terra charge, which is 26% additional damage, so that's pretty big. Now, that might sound really huge, actually, but it isn't actually that big of a deal, because the Terra charges aren't multiplicative of each other. So, if you have 6 Terra charges, that is giving you 156% additional damage, and then if you add one, you're going from, you're actually only gaining 16% additional damage. You're not gaining 26% additional damage. And it's even technically less than that, because you should then also consider the base hit, which is going to be this. So it's about 10% additional damage if you go from like 6 terras to 7 terras. But it is still worth it to like stack as many terras as possible, and if you have this pet at level 6, you are going to get that additional terra. So yeah, whales rejoice, I guess. And then the new drop pet is going to be Lady Obituary. And Lady Obituary is basically just a copy-paste of Lunoria pet. It literally just does all the same things as the Lunoria pet. There's not much to it. At level 6, you have 25% chance to triple the loot. At level 1, it's 13% chance to double the loot. But as always with these types of pets, the big thing is you want to get them level 1 for the drop quantity. Because the drop quantity they give is like generally the biggest like thing for these types of pets. And then lastly, we have some new skins. So, how much drop quantity did they give? Yeah, this gives 8% additional drop count. So this at level 1 is very big, just because of the 8% drop count and the 6% drop count. This is the new Selena 2 skin. It's a very girly skin. Very pink-based girly skin. I'm actually quite a big fan of it. I think it looks really nice. I really like this Selena skin.
Next up.
I like how I unmuted the fucking YouTube bot and we never once like even listened to YouTube. Oh well. She looks really good. I love the dolphins. I think it looks fucking cute as hell. I love it. This looks so cute to me. I think most people are probably not gonna like it. They're probably gonna prefer the base skin. But that's okay. And then we also have a new Rayhan 2 skin. This skin's so good. I'm not a big fan of like the other gender bend Rayhan 2 skin. I was not expecting a second gender bend skin. Look at her. Oh my god. If she is not the alpha woman in the fucking tribe, I don't know who is. Holy shit, the skin is good. And you get this. Oh, oopsie. What did I do? And you get this absolute beast on your back attacking for you. Oh my god, it's so good. I'm a really big fan of this Rayhan skin. I think it's a Spectral Slash skin, which Spectral Slash is pretty like commonly used by a lot of melee builds. Because it's very powerful, so I think a lot of people are going to be happy about that. And our ultimate wings are gonna be like these butterfly fish-like wings. Look very interesting. I personally really like how they look. I've had some people say they don't like how they look. I think they look awesome. But again, I really like pink. And the new TP. The new TP is cool, I guess. But that's gonna be it from me, YouTube. I hope you guys enjoyed this reaction trailer, and I hope it was informative. I hope I was able to actually like add a lot to the trailer and explain some things that to me at first weren't clear, and I'd spent a lot of time like trying to figure out how it works and what exactly mechanics are, especially surrounding the Nether King mechanic, because that one's really interesting. And I hope you all have a lovely, lovely day further. Bye bye, YouTube. Bye bye. The new turbo is only good for combat and turbo's. For dot, does she work? If you play dot terrible, yes. If your skill is a tear tag, you want the new bout. Yeah, this like defense change was so fucking good, by the way. This side defense change is really good. Okay, let me fix the audio for YouTube quickly so I can play music again. There we go. Using plus duration affects her trade. We could see this not done for all 3 buffs. And how do you plan on getting that much CD like duration though? Like, bro, these buffs last for 2 seconds. Wait, no. Sorry, not 2 seconds. How long did they last? They last for 6 seconds on level 3. Like, how were you getting to 15-second duration? Like, maybe if you plus 2 the trade to get to 8 seconds, and then on top of that also get 90% skill effect duration? Like, do you know how difficult that is? That's, like, I don't know, dude. It's not even that good. Like, really, it's not even that good. I wouldn't bother, personally. It's just not worth it. This is just bad. The only reason you do that's for the 50% movement speed. We crouch between Rayhan's legs, the male one. Miss mechanic, what is it? Just go back in the VOD. I explained it in a lot of detail in the VOD. Okay, that was one video I want to make. And then another video I want to make is I do want to talk about all of the builds we cooked up. So we did this, and I want to make the builds I want to play video. Phew, phew. Phew. Jesus. A Sandlord video. Okay, we did this. Good job, Fireblade. Bless you, thank you. Okay, time for the back-to-back video. This one's gonna be all of the builds I've cooked up, by the way. So you guys can look forward to it. Let me just move my model a bit, make it a bit less obtrusive. Also, let me get some water quickly. Oh, actually, a coffee as well, because it's gonna be midnight soon, so I can't make another one. BRB. Yo, 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 yo. How you doing, guys? Okay, I want to check something. What's the deadline on that video? Like, when do I have to upload it? Oh my god, they didn't say the deadline. Okay, there's like actually no deadline given. But I assume sooner better. What kind of gremlin can't drink coffee after midnight? It's because the coffee machine's loud as fuck. And it wakes people up. Hey Mia, where did I check the Bing One build from your friend Void? I don't know if he has a build. Listen, I'm just gonna keep it a buck 20 if you don't follow Void build. I like just personal advice. I love Void as much as I do. Do never ever follow a Void build ever. That man literally rerolls 10 times a season. You're actually just setting yourself up for failure if you try to copy his builds. You missed the 7-day free legendary pet? That's so unlucky, actually. Holy fuck, that's unlucky. Oh, yeah, my coffee. Okay. I'm excited for this video. Any fallen star balls? Sinato, most likely, if you want to play that. Maybe you could play it on G2 as well. I think Sinato or G2 could both be really good for it. Anybody far from us the TS Minor? Yeah, his TS Minor was like the one stroke of genius. No, Void makes good builds. Void makes interesting good builds. The problem with Void is he keeps re-rolling. Like, if Void would literally not re-roll every second day, I would tell people to like copy his builds because I think he's a smart person. That's why I trust his math a lot. The problem with Void though is this fucking idiot is incapable of not re-rolling day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5 of the league. Because he always cooks up the most cooked up build ever, then a mechanic doesn't work and he re-rolls. And then it lacks his PC out, then he re-rolls. And then something else, then he just doesn't like the build and he re-rolls. But when he saves with something, it's good. Like, his builds are really good. It's just, he keeps re-rolling. I've had so many people come to me and like, oh, Void re-rolled off of this build, how do I continue with it? Okay, let's make the YouTube video. Hello, YouTube. Did I just want to go over my league store? Oh, not my league store plans, but the builds that I've cooked up so far. You know, builds that I am genuinely considering league sorting. So I do want to say at the moment this is my spread. I'm 80% on thinking of starting Sage, 5% Bing 1, and 15% Selena 2. Both Bing 1 and Selena 2 seem really interesting because they have built-in automation. And the numbers on both of them are very, very good, especially Selena 2. She has really insane numbers, but I'll get to that in a bit. And Sage is just because, man, I did all of these Sage videos. Everyone's abandoning Sage. No one believes in her. Like, at least one person has to champion her. This poor girl. She just feels used and abused and then left behind. Now, I am doing a bet with someone, a race to first do SS20. So I'm actually not allowed to play Rosa 2. So keep that in mind for some of these builds, because some of them I do think Rosa 2 would have been better. The first build that I really thought about a lot was Sage Burning Shot Ignite. So I think Burning Shot Ignite seems really powerful. if you watched my Burning Shore Ignite video from like before, you know that I already spoke quite highly of the build. I thought it felt really good to play. And going to the new season, it actually received probably the most buffs out of any build here on this list. Like, I can't even begin to explain just how much better this build got. The point where, like, the numbers you saw in the Ignite build is probably going to be, like, ×3, ×4 the damage that you see here on League Start. That is absolutely absurd. So, the first and main thing that we actually got is this new Agony Dew. I remember when I was doing my Sage Burning Shot setup, I only got to about 200%, 200% Affliction effect, which, that's not bad, but it's quite low. And I was investing quite a lot of my like character into trying to get Affliction effect and trying to get dot damage. Having a Dew that just gives you like over 4% Affliction effect and over 4% dot damage is extremely powerful. This alone is like 3 times the damage that I had from the build. Because if you play Sage, you can realistically get to about 700% elixir effect with Tailored Remedy. So getting to 700% elixir effect of Tailored Remedy, this is going to give you over 400% affliction effect and over 400% dot damage, which is very, very powerful. And then all of that, in terms of tankiness, I think Sage is going to be very tanky late game in the new season. So a new prism that they gave us, or maybe not a new prism, but one that they actually reworked, is going to be this Tenacity Dew. So Tenacity Dew now gives you 15% of your first damage taken is converted to random element, and you gain 4% max res. If you get 700% elixir effect with a Tailored Remedy, that 4% is going to turn into 32%. So with just this one elixir, you are at 30 max res, and you're converting all of your first damage taken into elemental damage taken. So you get 100% first conversion, and you get 90 max res with just one Dew. Your other Dew is giving you ×3 damage in terms of Affliction effect. Because the Burning Shore Ignite build didn't really have like a second Dew that it could use. It felt very awkward of your Dews. And then on top of that, you now also have damage transfer to minions, which with 800% effect, you're going to cap that out at 60% for hit damage and 90% for dot, not 90%, like 80% for dot damage, which you're transferring all this damage taken to minions. And what you can then do is you can actually equip a module, like any good module. Oh dear, I think TLI might be getting updated. And you can equip Modularization Sever. Now what Sever does is makes that your minions take 99% reduced damage, which should be enough that your minions should never die. So not only do you have 90 max res, all of your damage is taken as elemental, you also on top of that have a 60% damage reduction. 60% damage transfer, which is essentially 60% damage reduction. This is just absolutely disgusting. Now, I did try to compare this to Yoga 2. Yoga 2's Your Trade does give him like about a 3x damage multi. I personally think Sage is probably going to be better than Yoga 2. I'm going to be honest with you. This is one of the a lot of the issues that I have with Sage right now is why play Sage? What does Sage do that another hero doesn't do better? And the Burning Shore Ignite build is like one of the few builds where I actually think Sage might just be the best on it. Also, on top of that, with the new season, they did add 2 things for us. It's way easier to get Ill Omen now, because before it was really hard to fit Ill Omen into your build as a Burning Shore Ignite character. I think it's going to be a lot easier now, especially with Affliction Dew and with just other sources of Ill Omen, to get the Ill Omen curse and to get it to 100% effect, which is really nice for us. And they added a legendary medium talent, 4% ignite chance against enemies that are not ignited. I'm actually not sure if this is gonna work the way I think it's gonna work. If it works the way I think it's gonna work, it's gonna make like overcapping your ignite a lot easier, but it might actually not work because it's based off the enemy debuff and not just like baseline, which would be kind of sucky, but you know. Can't have everything in life go your way, can you? So that's the first build. It's the Burning Shore Ignite build. I think it's gonna be. This is a very strong contender for me right now. I think this build's gonna be like absolutely S tier. It's gonna be one of the strongest builds you can play on Sage. But some other two builds that really stood out to me is actually of the new Nether King. So they added these Nether Kings. Really? Okay, there we go. They added this Nether King's Divinity, which I'll probably make a video about it, explaining exactly how this works in a eventually. In my reaction video, I do actually go into a lot of detail about it, but it might not even be enough detail. I might just need its own video entirely. But in Nether King's Banishment, there's one for Shadow Strike skills and for Steep Strike skills that both seem very, very, very interesting. So the Steep Strike one is very high investment to get up and running, but it basically, for every 1% Steep Strike chance above 100% chance, you have a 1% chance to trigger a core Steep Strike skill, which we don't know if this is a different Steep Strike skill than the one you're already using, or if you only need one Steep Strike skill and you can just like keep on triggering the one skill you already have. But whenever you do trigger a skill, it's going to cause the skill to deal 70% additional damage. So if you reach 200% Steep Strike chance, if it triggers the same skill that you're already using over and over again, you're essentially just double hitting and doing 270% additional damage. And if it doesn't work like that, and it needs a different skill, then you could do like a whirlwind plus focus strike setup, for example, and trigger your second Steep Strike skill, focus slash, which is like a very powerful one, and give it 170% additional damage, like 70% additional damage. So it does 170% of its usual damage. I think this build is going to be absolutely good, like completely broken. Some ideas that I had for it actually is, so one obvious character to do this on is going to be Rosa 2. Very, very good for Rosa 2. But obviously I'm not allowed to play Rosa 2. I think Rayhan 2 is going to be really good of this. Especially if it works the way that I think it is, where it's like chance to trigger a core Steep Strike skill, where it can trigger itself. Because if you play Rayhan 2, you go Berserking Blade, you just are double hitting every Berserking Blade now, and you're just doing 270% additional damage. Or like 270% of your normal damage. So by investing into more Steep Strike chance, you're just a fucking ultra mega killing machine, just running across maps, everything just dies. Another character that could be interesting for this though is Erica 2, where you play Erica 2 and you go Whirlwind. Because Whirlwind is really good for triggering the Banishment Steep Strike. Because if you actually look at what Whirlwind does, it does have this innate built-in 100% additional attack speed for the skill. So it has 100% APS, so you have double the attack speed when you use Whirlwind, and you're just constantly triggering Focus Slash. And the only thing that like I'm a bit 50-50 on is like, am I gonna like half the time trigger Whirlwind, half the time trigger Focus Slash, or am I always triggering like Focus Slash? Like, there's a bit of uncertainty about how this is gonna work exactly, but I think this is gonna be a very, very powerful banishment that a lot of people are gonna play around. And I think it's gonna be very expensive because of that. But I'm very tempted to, like, this looks so fun for me to play. The only reason I don't have like, Rayhan 2 or Erica 2 on my League Start list is we don't know how rare this is gonna be. This could be like absurdly rare. This could be like a profound only thing, It's just I don't want to take that risk on my League Start. This feels like something I would definitely reroll a second character into, and if it is common, like in future League Starts, like consider doing it. But like if it's not common, like I don't really want to play a melee build. I don't like that playstyle personally, even if it's overtuned. Then the other one that I thought was really powerful actually was the Erica 2 Shadow Strike one. So after using attack mobility skill, aka Spiral Strike, your Shadow Strike skills deal additional damage, 12%. This is like literally irrelevant. Unless this is additional damage, but it doesn't say additional. But here, casting attack mobility skill triggers 2 core Shadow Strike skills. So what you can do with Erica is if you go and get a lot of movement speed on Erica. Now, Spiral Strike does scale off of both movement speed and attack speed. But there's actually a way to make it scale like double dip of movement speed. There's this trait. 35% of bonuses for movement speed is also applied to the CTR of mobility skills. You can get this talent from Blade Runner. You can inverse image it to get it again. And you can then get it from a slate. And you can get this like to 110% or even higher. And if you're playing like Aircut 2 and you're like dex stacking, for example, and you have over 300% movement speed, you're literally giving your Spell Strike over 300% CDR, which is gonna just skyrocket the cast speed of it. It is gonna cast so fucking fast. And every time you Spell Strike, guess what? You're triggering a Shadow Strike skill. And I think this build in late game is literally gonna just hold down Spiral Strike, go at Mach 10 speed, and just full clear, just kill everything in one shot with one Shadow Strike. Because these Shadow Strikes are doing a lot of damage. And this makes the most sense to do on Erica 2, but I think you could also do this on Rosa 2. I think Rosa 2 and Erica 2 are like the two characters that could do this. I don't really see why we do it on Rayan 2. I think it doesn't really fit his kit. And you can't do this on Erica 1. Get fucked, Erica 1 players. Okay. In fact, neither of these really work on Erica 1 because the problem with triggering a skill is you can't multi-strike a trigger. Which is, you know, what Erica 1 does. She multi-strikes. A build that I didn't write down, but now that I like think about it, I genuinely think Erica 2 Spellburst might just be goated. This Banishment Spellburst literally just gives you activation medium's burst activation. You just gain it without any of the downsides, without needing to spend a ton of money buying a burst activation. And you can just like rush getting a Surging Inspiration. You buy one of these early game, assuming it's like available early game, and you're just up and running Surging Inspiration. You get a corroded Surging Inspiration with Beacon, and you just do infinite damage. This is really exciting for like Erica 2 Spellbursting. Because by far the most expensive part of playing Erica 2 Spellbursting is the burst activation. So being able to get that for cheap is absolutely awesome. Okay, but that's it for the melee characters, or like, you know, Erica 2. Another character that seems really good for me is Bing 1. The Bing 1 rework is really good. Despite what the Discord says, it is really good. So, I was thinking you can either play Ice Shot Bing 1. Ice Shot did get a big buff in this patch notes, and Ice Shot already was good. I don't know why it got buffed. I feel like the skill was already really good, and then on top of that, it also got buffed. Or you can play Blazing Bullet, which is what people normally play on Bing. And Bing is really sick. So the TLDR of the rework. Now this math I didn't do myself. This math was done by Void, which is a friend of mine. Bing 1 at the moment with the rework is about 10% better than Karina 2. Now apparently Bing 1 is actually worse than his like previous variant with the rework. But the previous variant of Bing 1 was fucking unplayable. It was one of the most garbage designed characters ever, which had infinite damage and was one-shotting bosses. Now, instead of one-shotting bosses, you're like a tiny bit worse than the previous Bing 1, apparently. Like, it's like, I saw the numbers on it, like, a lot of people did the math on it. It's so fucking slightly worse. And you're now an insane mapping character that feels really good to play. So I genuinely don't understand, like, I don't know. I mean, people who played old Bing 1, like, they were a bit cuckoo in the head either way. They did shit like just fucking bossing all season. Now the character's like actually like good and playable by like more than 5 people. But yeah, the Bing 1 rework seems really good. The math is in its favor. It's about 10% better than Karina 2, according to Void. And it has a built-in activation medium. So this 10% better than Karina 2 is assuming you do not use the activation medium and use the other trait, because in late game you would swap to like motionless or standstill medium. But for early mapping, you just have like the activation medium, or you can just do motionless early on. But obviously the big thing about motionless is you're not casting while you're spiral striking or doing shift shadow rage strikes, which is like the ranged variant of spiral strikes. I'm just going to call it spiral strikes, but there's a ranged version of spiral strike that Bing 1 uses. And with the automation, when you are spiral striking, you are constantly casting, which is why it's like really nice. But yeah, Bing 1 is very tempting, very tempting. I think I also think it's just going to be really cheap. Like, his numbers are really good. And who's playing attack builds in the season? It's literally a caster season. It's Selena 2, Terra skills, it's dot builds, it's hit-based casting builds. If you're and like a lot of the like what do you call it? A lot of the like sweaty triad people, they always go melee builds. Melee attack skills is like by far the most overtuned mechanic in this game. So a lot of the sweaty triads always go the melee attack builds. They go Rosa 2, they go Erica 1, stuff like that. So if you're playing Bing 1, like, who's your competition? I think you're just going to get your items really cheap. So I think it's actually going to be a really good season for Bing 1, which is why it's kind of tempting for me. And also, I do miss my Brat 2 skin. I do miss it. Considering that Bing 2 is kind of just not viable anymore. At least not early game. Okay, Cena 2. My honest answer for 2 is we just don't know yet. We don't have TLIDB. We don't have the numbers yet. It's really hard to say like, oh, this skill, this skill, this skill. Because we don't have the numbers yet for the skills. You might say like, oh yeah, you do have the numbers, but the big thing about these skills is we don't have like the full numbers. We don't have all of the tags. We don't have all of the numbers. We don't have all of the information. And I think it's foolish to like make an assumption without having all of the information yet. But with that being said, I don't think it matters. Cena 2 is the new hero. Like, these devs always make the new hero overtuned as fuck. And on top of that, we have like the new Teresco rework, which seems really strong, really broken. The last few times we've had reworks, like, everything's been absolutely absurdly broken. I think you can just play anything. I think you can just log in on Cena 2 and figure it out as you go, and you're just gonna have an amazing time. She looks really powerful. I love her automation. I love the RF playstyle. I think she's gonna be like... She's definitely like the new mind control character, I think. Like, a lot of people in China like mind control because, you just press the button, you just press W, and you just have a good time. Cena 2 is just mind control on steroids, and better. It's like pre-nerf mind control. You have your activation medium. You're just gonna walk into maps and just have a good time and just enjoy it. And, like, I'm promising you, after the season, she's gonna get heavily nerfed. I promise you that she is going to receive insane nerfs next patch. So just enjoy her while you can. And hopefully she's still playable next patch. Okay, and then we also have Sage, that's Erica 1, Arrow Anrior. So obviously we did make our Arrow Anrior video. Now, people when watch this video, they saw big number on damage. So in their brain, this is like the only viable Sage build, because they're stupid like that. I do think the Burning Shots build is better, but Arrow Anrior probably has more damage. The Arrow Anrior build, the more I cooked on it, there is some potential for it. The big thing that I kept thinking to myself, though, when I was looking at the Arrow Annual build is, why play this over Erica 1? And I don't have an answer to that. Because I feel like if you just take all of the gear from Sage and put it on Erica 1, you might just have more damage. I didn't test it. I haven't leveled an Erica 1. I haven't set up an Erica 1 of Arrow Annual. But it's kind of the problem you're always going to have with Sage, is like, why play Sage when you can play a different character? And what does Sage actually bring to the table? I do think Sage brings quite a bit to the table. I think Sage is always going to be tankier than Erica 1, it's not even close. We have the 90 max race setup that I mentioned before. We have the 60% damage reduction from your Euro trade that got reworked. And I think Scorpion Distillate is going to be absurdly powerful for this build, because we kind of need attack speed and we need projectile speed. These two things, the build was really lacking when I was testing it, and it was very tight to like fit in. So having both of them now is just going to be very powerful once you do get the Scorpion Stinger Distillate, but obviously this is like very expensive. And then you kind of have two options to play this build. I think going True Flame with like the Agony Dew and playing 3 Dews is an option. Or you can just stick with the cold setup. I think the new like reworks, so like the distillates here, where instead of them doing damage conversion, they now just do add damage equal to fizz damage, is actually very powerful. And any like Death's Touch build that Sage does kind of just got buffed a lot by this. Because adding that much like damage based off your fizz damage is really powerful. It just like it like more than doubles your flat basically, which is really powerful. Okay, so with all of that being said, Yeah, this was my thoughts. I was just writing all sorts of things. I do think there's a world. So one issue that you might have with like going to 90 max is 100% first elemental like do is it is quite difficult getting to 90 max res. It is a lot of investment to get all of those res rolls on your gear. Because even if you spec into res on the Still Vanguard tree, even if you spec into res on the Still Vanguard tree, you still need to get 2 res rolls, 2 T0 res rolls per res. So that's 6 res rolls, or 6 suffixes. I remember, this is a setup that kind of struggles with like crit and stuff, so, you know, there are some issues to fix and things. And I do think there's a universe where instead of going for 90 max res 100% first elemental, you instead just go an extra damage deal, like a second damage deal, and you just go for 50% injury buffer plus the 60% damage transfer to minions and some life regain. Like, maybe you don't need to be that tanky, you know, but there's gonna be like a very like feely thing where it's like you just have to figure it out as you're playing it. And I'll give you a hint, the rest of the builds are gonna be all Sage builds. Next one's gonna be Chromatic Shot. I'm gonna be honest with you, Chromatic Shot looks really good. I think Chromatic Shot's gonna be really good next season. They basically reworked Chromatic Shot this season. So now it's a first ability. It doesn't like do the conversion anymore, and it doesn't like, you know, it's not gonna have like the fire, lightning, cold tag, all of those things. It's just gonna have the first tag now. We don't know what attributes it's gonna be. I assume Chromatic Shot's still gonna be all 3 attributes. I hope it is, because that's like gonna be a big thing. But again, it would be nice to have TLI DB. We don't, so we just don't know. It's impossible to know until TLDB updates. But they did add a new support to Chromatic Shot where it's like condensed cold, condensed fire, condensed lightning, which, you know, gives it the cold tag. It makes it do frostbite. It does all sorts of things. It basically does like multiple cold stuff in one, which is really nice. Or you have the condensed fire tag, which does multiple fire things in once. And I think both condensed cold and condensed fire, like Chromatic Shots, can be very powerful. I think in the early game for Sage, you're probably going to play Prophet and do Cold Convert. But in the late game, you have 2 really strong options. You can either just go like generic Cold Convert, which I'm not sure if that's going to be the most powerful version of the setup. But one setup that really stood out to me is actually the Fire Convert one. Because if you use the new Dew that we get, the new Agony Dew, which gives you Affliction effect, and you go True Flame, Chromatic Shot Fire, and you do Fire Convert with True Flame with Mask of the Infernal Iron. I think that build's gonna fucking slam, dude. I think it's gonna be so good. I think it's gonna be so good, man. Because you get 90% max fire res, you convert all of your cold and lightning damage to fire, and then you do damage transfer to minions. You get GMP, you get Iron Lion, you get +1 on your wands, and you use Miraculous Touch, which got buffed. And you do Scorpion Distillate for attack and cast speed, as well as projectile speed for Gale. You do the Affliction Dew, and you're just owning. Or instead of that, you can also go Death's Touch plus Bow. I think Death's Touch plus Bow is going to be worse, but it might be cheaper, just because I think Selena's going to use wands. I'm a big fan of Chromatic Shot next season. I think it's going to be really good. Tangles did get nerfed a slight amount. It's not the end of the world for Tangles, but it did get nerfed. And also, Chromatic Shot in general just got nerfed, which, again, it was overtuned. It needed a nerf. Also, Sage got absolutely gutted in like, nerfs. But, you know, sometimes in life, when you get nerfed, you just have to adjust. Instead of being depressed about being nerfed because you're playing the most overtuned thing ever created, just try to make it work. And stop being a little bitch. Demo skills got buffed. Like, everything I did in my demo video basically just got buffed. I think you're not forced into doing the True Flame setup, but it's gonna be the exact same setup as like Chromatic Shot, just instead of Chromatic Shot, you're doing a demo skill. GG noobs. And something to note, by the way, if you do use Mask of the Infernal Iron, you cannot use any First Convert. First Convert does brick Mask of the Infernal Iron, because even though you're converting your lightning and cold damage to fire, For some reason, that happens before you convert first to elemental. I have no idea why. But like, if you convert your first to a random elemental and it converts like to like cold damage, you're just gonna get nuked by cold damage. It's really stupid. It makes no sense to me why it doesn't convert that cold to fire, but it just doesn't. Which is quite unfortunate because it does mean both of these builds are going to be a lot weaker to first damage than like one of the other setups I maybe did. Okay, and then lastly, Ring of Blades. The Ring of Blades build did get nerfed quite a bit, but I don't think it's actually as bad as it looks. You can still get +7 like quant on Ring of like +7 proj quant on Ring of Blades from Wands, GMP, Iron Lion, State Mod, or also from Bow. You're pretty much forced into using Wind Breath now because a lot of the like sources of early +1 max channel stacks got removed. So you're pretty much forced into using at least a Wind Breath to get like the 5 initial max channel stacks. But max channel stacks do like, you know, become worse and worse the more of them you have. So instead of having those, you're using +1 level mods, using additional damage to frozen enemies, stuff like that. It's gonna be a slight nerf overall. But, you know, it's not gonna be the end of the world or anything. And I do think Scorpion Distiller's change is actually really good. Because if you have only 2 elixirs and you have your 700% elixir effect, this is giving you 300% proj speed. Proj speed also affects how quickly your Ring of Blades deal the damage. So not only does it scale with Gale, it also just affects the actual like hit ratio of your build. So maybe that's just gonna be like absolutely insane for the build. But we'll have to see how it plays out. Even if the build's nerfed, it was really broken last season, so I think Ring of Blades is still going to be really, really good next season, but it did definitely get nerfed. I think the demo skills got buffed. I think Chromatic Shot obviously got nerfed heavily, but it's still going to be good. Arrow Einar, I'm not sure. I think this build is going to have some struggles, and the big thing about it is just like, I don't know why you're gonna play this over just playing Erica 1. That's the big worry I have, is going Erica 1 is just gonna be better. But with that being said, like, nothing we got this season is like especially good for this build, but nothing was bad for it either, so it should still be fine. And then Burning Shot got massive buffs, by far the biggest buffs of any of the Sage builds we tested. Builds I didn't mention, by the way, Mana Stacker, don't care, just I don't like the build. Flamevilla Streams, don't care, I don't like the build. This build did get buff though. This build did receive a big buff. ES Stacker, pretty much unaffected actually. But again, I just don't care about the build. So yeah. Oh, where the heck am I? There we go. So yeah. Those are like the builds I've been thinking about league sorting. I don't think there's anything else that I might add to this list. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like go with one of these. And a big reason why I have Sage at 8%. So one reason is just no one's playing Sage, and like I feel bad, man. Like everyone's calling her dead, everyone's saying the character got fucking demolished and blah 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 blah. I feel bad for her. I just want to show that she's so decent. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna set your expectations. If you League Sword Sage, you're gonna have a shit early game. Her early game is, like, not as good anymore. She's still gonna be fine late game, she's gonna have a rough early game, but I play Erica too, man. I fucking play Bing too, I play Erica too. I play characters who specialize in being absolutely garbage the first few days of the league. That is, like, my specialty. And I don't think she's gonna be that bad. I hope she's not gonna be that bad. And something that's really nice about her is, if I do League Sort her, I can kind of just go with the flow. Like, whatever ends up happening, like, I can just, like, on a whim decide, if, like, oh, this build's really popular, like, just do a different setup. Because I'm sure at least one of these setups that I've listed is going to be, like, fairly cheap and fairly efficient to go for. Big One's still very tempting, Xena 2 is always very tempting. I mean, it's one of the things where it's like, if you don't play the new hero, like, next season she's gonna be heavily nerfed next season. I think she's gonna be very good this season, though. And this Nether King stuff, if we knew for sure that this is, like, viable to get early on, I think I would just lock it in and just League Sort, like, Ran 2 or Erga 2. Because this just looks fun to me. Like, I haven't played a melee attack build in so long, and this actually makes me want to play one. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys had a good video, a lovely time watching, and hopefully there's a build here that maybe piques your interest. Maybe you're gonna copy me, or maybe you're gonna do one of the builds that I don't get around to doing, and have a good time with it. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day further, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye-bye, YouTube. Bye-bye. Ariana, Arrow Ein Hurrior is a viable Fleek sword. If so, which skill do you start with, and when do I swap? You swap when you have the things for the skill. I mean, you can swap whenever you want, really. Like, you can just equip the skill and just go from there. I can't tell you, like, when to swap, because it depends. Like, the big thing about when do you swap is, like, no matter when you choose to swap to a skill, the initial swap is always going to be painful. Because you built your entire character around a different setup, and now you're swapping to a completely new setup. There's going to be some issues here and there. There's going to be like, oh yeah, I forgot to replace this mod, I forgot to replace this mod, I forgot to do this, forgot to do that. So you're always going to have like this issue when swapping. If you want to swap at like what I think is probably the best time to swap, I would say get the Death Touch gloves and get the helmet. I think once you have those two things, you could probably just try and force the swap, and it'll be fine. Okay. Hello, cute fox tits. Holy fuck, you called me fox tits. Tell me, please, what most popular build's gonna be so I can save my time and avoid them. I think Selena 2 is gonna be very popular. I think spell builds and dot builds are gonna be very popular. I think range attack builds are gonna be fairly cheap. And I think melee attack builds are gonna be a bit more expensive, but also fairly cheap. So attack-based builds are gonna be should be cheap, and I think spell builds and dot builds are gonna be very expensive. If you're still there. This game's very hard without pay to win. Yeah, it can be tough in your first season. Like, I remember in my first season, it took me like over 200 hours to kill SS20. Now, back then, killing SS20 was like a lot harder than these days. I think these days, like, it's pretty easy as a free-to-play player. But if you don't know things yet, because this game is like a big knowledge check, right? It's about knowing shit in the game. It can be tough as a new player. Meow, fox tits. Do I just send him channeling Erica 2 and cry? Bro, I'm promising you, if this is like super common, if Banishment Spellburst is super common, there might be a universe where I just go Surging Inspiration, like ASAP. This genuinely might be the surprise build that I was not expecting. You know? Because this, dude, I love Surging Inspiration, I love Spellburst.
Meow, meow, meow.
Chain Lightning, Erica 2, Surging Inspiration, Spellburst, login. That's a build that I miss. Maybe I'll need to like cook a bit on Sage and see if I could do this on Sage. The big problem of doing this build on Sage, though, is you are just -1 skill slot. Like, Sage is so reliant on her active skills that losing one is really big. But you could do like 2 elixirs, a module, and then Path of Flames. No, but then you can't do a module, though. I guess you have to drop a module. So you can't go minion convert. So like it's gonna hurt a lot. Unless you go what do you call it? I guess unless you go like Verdant Steps eventually, then it should be fine. We'll have to see. I have to think about it. But this excites me a lot. This excites me a lot, but then I think to myself, like, there's no way they're gonna give us burst activation this early into the game. Especially this good of a burst activation. This burst activation is, like, way, way, way better than the one we have right now, by the way. This makes burst activation look fucking garbage. So, like, I don't know, dude. It's scary. But I think that's also exciting. I think that's like really exciting. Oopsie. Yeah, it doesn't have the nice movement speed. And it has more damage. Okay, we should start closing some stuff. I'm gonna make any more videos that I need any of this open. I guess the Sage Guide. What did the nerf deterioration? Felt like no one played it? Because the few people who did play it know how overtuned it was. I don't know, deterioration is one of the most overtuned mechanics in the game, but I don't know why they nerfed it because no one plays it. It does feel like one of those things where like they just realized how OP it was randomly and then decide to nerf it. Dude, I need to start pumping out the tier lists. Tier lists get clicks. People love their tier lists. Do you remember roughly how much DPS is needed to do machines of 3 purple compasses on 8-1? No? That's very specific. I've never done that form before. They nerfed the deterioration chest, right? Yeah, they nerfed Runa's Store, which was like a cheese item for bossing. And they nerfed Ghostblade Einar, which was like a cheese bolt from China. I don't know if there was any other nerfs though. Also, the fucking Ghostblade build nerf is so weird to me. Because Ghostblade has been really good for like every season since its fucking inception. So why nerf it this season? It just feels so random. Element. Amigo. Aiuto. Mm. What does it say my stream's audio bitrate is too low on YouTube? Is that like something I have to fix? Where's 1% chance for leak starting E2? It's too much, there's too much RNG, I'm not gonna do it. Our build? What do you mean? I might make a Selena guide once we actually, like, you know, get the numbers and stuff. But before then, there's like no point. I need TLIDB to like actually make a guide for her because there's not enough info. The dream guide's gonna be a banger video. That's gonna be so funny to make. I definitely should make the Nether King video because even talking about it in the reaction trailer made me realize just how much there's to yap about. That mechanic has so much like complexity and density to it. And the Sage guide is just gonna be like the early game guide. Okay, I need to go pee like really badly though, so I'm gonna be right back, chat. Yo, sorry about that. Sorry being so long. Okay, chat. Chat. Do you guys have any questions? Do you guys have any questions? Any things you want to talk about? Anything like that? I have 15 minutes of my stream left. I can spend 15 minutes just yapping. Did you enjoy your swim? Yes. One last question, Katie Breasts. Please tell me, what do you think about marked rain of arrows as a main skill? Did you test it? I've not tested it, so I have no idea. I don't know why you would play that over just rain of arrows, though. I feel like rain of arrows just makes more sense. That is my thought. Thornfield, how can you play it on CO2? It does 20% damage per second. You need to have some way to restore the life you're losing. Thornfield is like really good for like life consuming. But yeah, you need some form of restoration in your build to offset it. What is the best one? I mean, bro, you can just equip a fucking life potion and that would count.
The cauldron's still cold.
Yeah, Thornfield is weird though, because Thornfield's is like dot damage. It's not like on hit, it's fucking dot. Which, it's weird to me. Because normally life consume builds are like on hit builds. But it is fizz dot, so you could go trauma. Also, it only stacks up to 40%, which 4k life is like really easy to get. It's gonna be interesting. But yeah, I guess you would go trauma with this and try to make something work. It's gonna be interesting. I don't know too much about trauma builds and fizz dot builds in this game. So I'm gonna have to see how it plays. Thoughts on Whirlwind with Ren 1 as starter? Dog shit. Whirlwind is a bad skill. I know it got buffed, and that's super exciting that it got buffed. Like, I love that. But Whirlwind still kind of sucks. It depends. Because at the moment, the way Whirlwind works is you need to get min channel stacks to be equal to max channel stacks to actually use Whirlwind. If this gets like removed, Whirlwind's going to be a lot more approachable. But if you don't have your min channel equals max channel on Whirlwind, it just feels awful. And even though the skill got buffed by like 80%, it's still really like it's still a mid skill. Like I wouldn't league sort it. You can go Rayhan 1, play something else, and then once you have like the gear, swap to Whirlwind. Like that's fine. But it's just like league starting it is just like, bro, you're just gonna be in pain. You can make it work though. Like you can make it work, but I don't think it's a good starter. Also, why Rayon 1? I mean, I don't know anything about Rayon 1. But isn't he the burst hero? Thoughts on this? Dark Ass? Oh, it's okay. It's average. It is average. But yeah. I mean, if they remove this line, at maximum stacks, there's a chance to damage enemies in a large area, the chance equal to the skill's C plus damage. If this is like still in the game, because I think this is the double hit, right? If I'm not mistaken, this is the double hit aspect of the skill. If this is removed, like I don't see why you wouldn't be able to like League Sword Whirlwind. But at the moment, if you don't have min challenge stacks, Whirlwind just doesn't do damage. So I don't know. TLDR, we don't have patch notes. We need TLIDB to know. How much are you packing? That is average. That is average. What can I say? Wink. Okay, what's a tree gonna look like on Sage? Let's do this quickly. What is our tree gonna look like? So you're still gonna go Goddess of Knowledge. So you go Chromatic Shot, you go Goddess of Knowledge. You do the standard Goddess of Knowledge pathing. Like, what do you take now? All of this is kind of not that good. We don't know if Chromatic Shot's gonna, what like tags it's gonna have. Because if it has like the all attributes tag still, then you can just go int. But we don't know. It's so annoying. Like, how do I make how do I make guides? How do I make content for this game without actually having all the info? Can they just fucking update TLIDB already? You did a campaign run with Ice Lances earlier? It felt terrible. Welcome to the new Chromatic Shot mode. Welcome. Enjoy your stay. Oh, I guess early on I mean, eventually you just swap the fucking tangles, though. I mean, if we go Prophet, we have Focus Blessings, so I guess you just do Focus Blessings. You do like this, you go Prophet. We need so many points in Prophet, it's gonna be annoying. We need some form of max life in the world for your trade. Man, not getting the Frostbite effect kind of sucks, though. That's tough. That is very tough. Sure, the same two players will get the Pulse Sage Tangles at level 27. Why do you think Selena 2 would get Tangles at 27? That makes no sense at all. No character in the game gets Tangles before level 55. I don't know why they would give the Terra champion Tangles at level fucking 27. No character gets Tangles before 55. Everyone gets it at 55. Any info that says otherwise is just outdated. 90% sure TL1 has it at level 27. 90% is pretty fucking high. If you're wrong, are you gonna sub? If I go level with tier 1 quickly to test it and you're wrong, are you gonna sub? Selena 1 does, not Thea. Selena 1 does not. Selena 1 does not. Selena 1 does not. Stop saying she does. She does not. Go level the character yourself. She does not. Tier 1 has 100% has it at 27. Selena 1 does not. TLIDB is wrong. I've said it 50 times already. TLIDB is wrong. Stop saying TLIDB, TLIDB, TLIDB. I've said it before, I've said it again. I've said multiple times the info that says so is wrong. I said before you wrote that, I said it again. Selena 1 though. Okay, so according to TLIDB, Thea 1 has it at level 55. But I'm willing to put that to the test.
The chosen one stands along the divines.
I am willing to put Thea 1 at the test, because it would make sense that they fucking fucked up and just swapped Thea 1 and Selena 1 around.
We must hurry.
Can't just match notes because they're poorly translated. Can't just agree. What is left? Me. The only person you can trust is me. Succumb and trust the Catgirl goddess. Your Catgirl overlord.
Let's go. It's time to take out all these intruders.
I'm here on leave. The Chosen's orders to take this spur.
Agitos? I knew it. You were behind all of this.
Oh, Field 1 has a 27. Interesting. So I guess Helena 1 and Theo 1 skill shops were mixed up? Do I know any Theo 1 players? I feel like Theo 1 players shouldn't be that hard. Yo, I need to find someone that's league starting Theo 1 so I can yoink tangles from them at 27.
Stop Lean and the Agitos.
Allergine? I was also thinking Allergine. But I don't know if Allergine plays on league launch. I need someone that's online at 4 AM when the servers go online.
Your pursuit will come to naught. Enjoy this world without its spark. Look at the ember growing beneath your feet.
I'll play 4 AM, but my level 27 might be slower than a regular. That's fine. Like, even if I'm like level 35 and you send it then, like, just knowing that I'm getting it in the campaign is like really good. Like, I don't expect anyone to be like, you know, to keep up with my pace. Even though I don't have the fastest campaigns. All I ask of you is to do 5 practice runs at a giant every single day and keep optimizing your 1 to 27. Nothing else matters, just keep on optimizing 1 to 27 to speedrun it as fast as possible. Okay, I'm not gonna ask around then. I'll just get it from Allergine, because yeah. Are we friends in game, Allergine? Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. Gotta stop playing Power World now. Whenever you have to AFK in Power World, just do a quick run. I think we are. I don't know, I've removed people before, but if you see me on the friends list, that's all that matters. Who's this? Who's this? I kind of want to remove people because I don't know who they are. Okay, vandalized him as Van. Did you remove me? I think so. I'm sorry if I've removed you, by the way. I generally sometimes remove people because I just don't know who it is and I just clean it up. I'm really sorry though if I did remove you. Just tell me and I will add you back. I sometimes get confused with people's names. Because if you're not called Vitalia, if you're not called Allergine, like, I might not realize. Oh, that's insane. Okay, chat. I'm gonna end my stream, though. That's really cool that I can get tangles at 27. That makes me happy. Speaking of Void, let's go raid him. Let us go raid Void. Yo, chat, if you guys wanna play 5 bulls in the first 3 days of the league, Void's your man. Because he will reroll 5 times just for you.
You have to start with a cauldron that meets experimental standards.
Yeah, I know Cinema doesn't have tangle because I checked it myself. That's interesting. Okay. Good night, chat. Good night, good night, good night. I'm gonna maybe be live again in 8 hours. Like tomorrow at 8 a.m. I might be live. But anyway, bye-bye.